makes people so mad when he talks. So mad. They're not here yet. But when they get here, they're not going to like me. Why don't they like me? That's what I want to know. Why don't the people like me? Let's see if I can mix the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat in together. They're not loading together. If you're in the YouTube chat, tell me your favorite color so I can see if it's coming in. There we go. Now it's rolling in. Is the hat navy blue? It is. It's dark in here. I didn't open up. I forgot to open up my windows today, so little dark in here today. Look who's still hanging around. What do you mean hanging around, Liam? You're the hanging around guy. I've been here, man. I just get banned on TikTok like every day. Welcome everybody that's on TikTok today. Haven't seen you guys for a few days. We were banned. Shout out to our HR rep who got the ban undone a day early. If you need help, C-Note, if you're here, appreciate you, C-Note, for getting that taken care of early. I imagine it'll happen again today. And even though we don't have like that much crazy stuff to say today, it's not going to be like I'm not going super deep on Epstein files, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. How are you guys? Hey, Jen.
Good morning, sunshine.
Hey, clear. Whose favorite color is clear? What a weird favorite. I don't know, Liam. How is your TDS today? You guys still just openly deep-throating Donald Trump, or have you guys given that up?
Liam is.
Yeah.
Liam for sure is. That's what he does.
He's I know he's not great at push-ups. That's what I know about him.
I do know. Yeah, that's not. And he gets really mad when he gets muted because he talks over everybody on live. So.
Hold on 1 second. My desk won't adjust. Give me 1 second. Jen, talk to the people.
Talk to the people. Hi, people. You guys missed me. I know. I was in there listening here and there on the last couple of days. It just wasn't active doing stuff. Actually, that's not true. I did meet someone who thought they were being funny.
You muted somebody? How dare you?
Yeah.
Did I get a message about that?
No.
Okay.
No. I think they expected it.
They knew they were going to get muted. Maybe Liam will get there today. We'll see.
Yeah. So, they were trying to like stir the pot. And so it just makes sense. And I own it when it happens. So.
Well, fuck you, whoever you were. We got all the old heads in here. Dem Slayers here. Whoopi said anyone in the files. I don't give a fuck about Whoopi Goldberg. I have no idea what Whoopi Goldberg said. What she's in the Epstein files. What'd she do in there? Is it just one of the? Let's see. Let's actually take a look. Let's see how she's in there. Justice.gov. I am not a robot. I have to tell the Justice Department every day I'm not a robot. It's starting to bother me. I feel like they should know me by now.
I mean, if they've been watching you, probably. So.
This looks like this is something about her. What do we got here? Whoopi Goldberg needs this is from someone to Larry. Who's Larry V? J.E. Jail? Is this while he's in jail? What is J.E. Jail? Whoopi Goldberg needs a plane to get to Monaco. John Lennon's charity is paying for it. They don't want a charter, so they're looking for private owners. Oh, so they're just trying to rent a plane in that one. All right. I guess she's guilty of trying to rent a plane from Epstein there. Or someone's just not even from her. That's still the same thing. What's this? Professional references of somebody. All right. So, I don't know. This looks like a. Yeah, it doesn't look very good. Yeah, she's guilty. I agree. She's guilty of, I don't know. Renting a plane?
Renting a plane?
Yeah.
I guess walk her up, throw her all away the key.
I love Republicans who are just like, they find a name and then they're like, guilty. And then they're like, just like Trump, you hold Trump guilty. Yeah, well, Trump is accused of a lot worse than that. And even then, don't say he's guilty. He is guilty of one thing. He is definitely guilty of covering it up. That's for sure. This entire administration's been covering that up. And he said, $2 train, hope you're taking care of yourselves. Thank you. Which I was. I was at the doctor this morning.
Johnny.
And I was about to do that. Right. I'm here and old. I see you, Johnny.
Don't forget Johnny.
But yeah, I went to the doctor this morning. That's why I was a little late. It was a last minute, and they could fit me in earlier this morning. So took care of myself this morning. Don't clip that. Nobody clip that.
Did you say something kind about yourself as well?
Yeah. Been drinking plenty of water. It's going good.
Good. I don't want you to be dehydrated. Maybe you should get some boots on the ground and, you know.
I don't know. Do we know Demslayer? Demslayer, you're not like actually that dumb, right? Like this got to be a troll. Like, is this what you guys have had to like resort to, where you're pretending that people just say if you're in the Epstein files you're guilty, and so now you're playing like you're just playing this game that nobody else is playing. You've just invented your own game, so you don't have to accept that the people funding Trump's campaign and Trump himself are just all over in those files. Is that what we're doing?
Who is them? I'm looking at the.
I don't remember.
Looking at their profiles, trying to see who they are. They might be. I don't know. I'm not familiar with their name as much.
Seems like I feel like I remember them being in the mod crew, which is not great for your IQ. That's
no.
Yeah.
So they've got probably some kind of fake education and background also.
And definitely an AI profile picture for sure.
100% for sure. So
Snoopy says happy humping. Love you guys. And Jerry Mandarin said towards your blue pill prescription. Thank you very much.
Jerry's who I muted yesterday.
Jerry?
Yeah.
Take that, Jerry.
He was spamming caps. So
Jerry Mandarin?
Yeah, and not actual caps because Nightbot handles that, but they were typing the word caps in lowercase many times. So
nice.
But yeah, so I mean, I sent you that one video that you were gonna react to.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think you should do that.
All right, let me pull it up. I can already tell by the thumbnail this is not going to be good. What is this?
Oh, it's something, and make sure you're putting it on the screen so everyone can see it.
Watch RFK Jr. and Kid Rock pump iron and cold. No. He got punched in his jeans. That's gonna be so heavy. He walks out with his wet jeans, shredded. Hold up. HHS put that out?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Gay, right? I don't know.
It's something.
Good. Good. I love that. They're embracing their
Yeah,
masculinity
everybody-
together.
this
A
was real.
lot of deep eye contact. I loved that. That was a little bit beautiful.
Yeah, it's something. So, but I mean that's a good way to start the show, I think.
What the fuck was that's our government? That's
I
a
know.
a government not a government branch, a whatever, a executive wow, why can't I figure out the name for this? Executive what's the
It's
right
insane.
word? What's the
It's
right word
insane. I don't know.
what's the word I'm looking
It's
for, chat? I feel like an idiot right now. What's the word I'm looking for? Agency? Yeah, agency.
federal agency.
Yeah. Liam, did you finish? Is Liam still here? Is he done?
He's probably actually really upset because he saw the push-ups and he knows he can't do them as well. So that would make sense.
Whose idea? I want to know whose idea it was. Like, hey, we have this idea. You and Kid Rock, you're gonna just work out, and we're gonna
I have
film
a
it.
feeling that it had to be RFK's idea.
He
Or
just
the
wanted
worm.
to take his shirt off.
The worm probably came up. It was like, you know what? I have this great idea. Let's make a music video of you working out in jeans.
Cool. That's cool. That's cool. They spent taxpayer money making that too, by the way. I don't know how much it cost us, but it cost some amount of money. So
Yeah. Well, I guess we can get going. Just want to remind everybody we've got that gift goal. So if you guys want to help us out, TikTok, like the stream, share it. We get us up to 30K likes. I think you can repost all that kind of good stuff. So we'll see how long we'll be with you guys today. If not, check out the link tree in the bio where we will be if and when this goes down. So check that out. You can join us over there. So any of the pay links and super chats on YouTube help us knock out the gift goal. And then if you haven't subscribed to us already, please do so. We have a members only event coming up on Monday. And yeah, if we've got opposition, are you wanting to take opposition if they're?
sure. Yeah, that'd be great. I had to
Okay,
go
if you guys-
because I was convinced that it was. I had to go on HHS's like Twitter to make sure it was real. It's real. It's they put that out.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
that's real alpha.
It is a little bit, yeah. I'm more uncomfortable that it's the government. That's what I'm most uncomfortable with. The government thought this was a good use of their time and resources.
I think one thing that I find very interesting with often with men, because this had to have been something a man decided to do, that most men make videos or do things like this to
get rock hard.
This is not for the female gaze. This is to impress other dudes.
Do we have MAGA women in here? Is there any MAGA women who are like, hell yeah? That is fair, Nicholas. Can't deny that motherfucker's in great shape, though. He is. TRT and working out. If you want to stay healthy, you should do that. Also, maybe don't drink non-pasteurized milk. That's probably not a good idea. But possibly you should get vaccinated as well. But
yeah, that's
it's for no one's case.
Yeah, it's. I mean, but it is.
I think it's for older gays. I think that's who
maybe
it's for.
that would actually make a lot more sense.
That makes the most sense, right?
Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyways, why are there no brown bears at the North Pole?
I don't know.
They're afraid of the ice.
It's for everyone, Culver King. Brianna said, what's the difference between Monopoly and group sex? One's a fun family activity, and the other is a board game. That is horrific. That is, Brianna's back. She's on her shit. She's on some shit lately. All right, let's get started. I wasn't prepared for that. That was really jarring. We've been seeing all across the country that there have been ICE protests at schools, and I don't know who this young man is. Nick Roberts, lovely 3/4 half zip. Looks like he is straight out of Bel Air Academy here. But I took this video because this made me laugh.
This is absolutely hilarious. So all over Indiana, there have been students that have been walking out of school to protest ICE. Now, in one of the schools on the south side of Indianapolis, in a very Republican area, Center Grove High School, the parents organized an America First walkout to get the students to be excited about Trump and all these different things. Guess how many students showed up to that protest? 0. And there are hundreds, if not thousands and tens of thousands of students all over Indiana that are themselves. If you're proud of these students, drop a blue heart down below. It's very
Proud of them. Great job, Indiana. Kids aren't buying that shit. Renee said for Jen's date nights at Texas Roadhouse, honey butter, and a roll fund. I like that. Electric Dad said, no wonder Grindr crashes. I just wish they would just embrace it. They just embrace. Nobody's gonna care. It's fine. We were wild, Ban said, and people still think the government faked the moon landing. This editing proves they can't edit. Thank you. Thanks for the dollar trade. And Jen said, thanks for ruining my lunch. Sorry about that. That was Jen's fault. I had nothing to do with that. All right. Remember yesterday I showed you guys the video of Randy Fine saying that we would trade we'd trade dogs for Muslims, that they're more important to America than Muslims. Well, Newsmax then brought on Mark Harris that had some context and maybe a different opinion, and Mark Harris did not disappoint.
Before we let you go, I want to run this past you. Axios reporting that, quote, Dems eye to force a vote to censure Randy Fine over recent comments. Now, we talked to Congressman Fine yesterday on our program about his comments in question. Take a listen to what he had to say.
It's not enough for Democrats to think anyone who wants to come here illegally should be able to do that. They also think they should be able to get whatever free stuff they want. Now,
it's very important if you are a member of Congress and you're a Republican that when you get confronted with something dumb that you said, to start your sentence with a bunch of things that are untrue, just some straw man arguments to get things started that are totally untrue. Democrats don't think everybody should just be able to come here and that they should get free stuff. Nobody thinks that. There's no party that believes that. There's no Democrat who has advocated for that. But when you get caught being a piece of shit, it's important to create a straw man so that you look a little bit better. He's doing a great job here.
now they're demanding that we change our values and how we live as Americans.
Also not a demand. Nobody is demanding anything with dogs. A Muslim person made a joke about how much dog shit is on the streets. New York Post reported this yesterday because there was so much snow and the dogs were shitting in the snow and it was burying and people weren't picking it up, that when the snow melted, there was dog shit. And they simply just made a joke that maybe New York City is not a great place for dogs. But nobody demanded that you change your values.
My post was in response to a major Muslim leader saying dogs should be forbidden from New York City because to some Muslims it bothers them.
Also, that's not what it said. So he got every single detail wrong here in order to justify his Islamophobia. And now, of course, we're going to bring on somebody else to decide whether or not he was right.
Well, if they're going to make us choose between our dogs and them going home, the choice is easy. And people.
Yeah, nobody's making you make that decision. Why is your entire party, Republicans, just making up shit to be offended by and then taking a strong stance like you're tough? Nobody's advocating for any of this stuff. This is all not real. This was just an excuse to be Islamophobic.
People should know Democrats like AOC are saying we are going to get rid of your dogs. Americans need to.
AOC did not say anything like that. 0 for 20? How many more things does he have to get wrong here?
Keep that in mind when they go to vote in November.
Yeah, Congressman, so Democrats call that anti-Muslim. They want him censured for it. What do you think?
Oh, I think it's ridiculous that the Democrats are calling for such action. Let's face it, when she made that post, she went back and tried to say, well, she was just kidding. There was no joking in that post. When you read that post, it was clear. Randy responded to that post.
It wasn't. We read it yesterday. It wasn't clear. It also didn't say you have to get rid of dogs. It didn't advocate getting rid of dogs. Just like maybe New York City is not a great place for dogs. That's a fair thing to say. You know, if you have a dog in New York City, there's not a lot of place. Depending on where you live, it's kind of hard to find a place to take your dog sometimes. A fair thing to say.
And I support him. I think his post was on the spot. And the reality is people don't want to talk about the fact that what has happened in New York City is a shift like we've never seen before. We warned it was going to come.
What's the shift? Is MAGA here yet? You guys wake up yet? What's the shift that happened in New York City? Transparency? Is that the shift? Childcare? They're trying to make it seem like in New York now they're saying you got to get rid of your dogs. What the fuck is wrong with Republicans? Why are you all such hysterical bitches?
And I think it's a major, major concern. And listen, I stand with Randy, and I'm very grateful for his courage.
All right, Congressman Mark Harris, great to have you with us this morning. Thank you.
There we go. Cool. That's cool. That's what you folks are fighting for. You have all the power, and that's what you're spending your time on. A very not prominent person in New York who happens to be Muslim saying that, making a joke, playing on your Islamophobia, and you turned it into 2 full segments over on Newsmax. They're really getting their time out of that. This is a quote from former Fetterman staffer. Before I show this video here, John Fetterman, who fucking sucks. His former staffer said, "We do not know if he's taking his meds. He claims to be the most knowledgeable source on Israel and Gaza around, but his sources are just what he reads in the news. He declines most briefings and never reads memos." So I wanted to let you know that that's what his own staff is saying before you watch this video. I got that one, I think. Let me make sure I got Jen's. Okay. Yeah.
And I think that personally, that the idea of completely unconditional aid, no matter what one does not make sense. I think it enabled a genocide in Gaza.
She talks.
All right. Now, this is my favorite part. We shouldn't have unconditional aid to Israel. That's what she's talking about, right? Let's make sure we're on the same page here with the MAGAs. She said aid to Israel should be conditional. If there's going to be any aid to Israel, it should be conditional. Clear on that? That's her argument. Here's what Kaylee McFillet of Fish. What happened to her face? Yikes, bikes, lady. Relax.
It's about a genocide, but I have a Jerusalem Post headline this week that Iran is shooting protesters in their hospital beds. But
cool. We don't fund Iran. So that's not a response to what she said, because she was talking about aid to Israel. We don't send aid to Iran. But if I were McEnany, I also probably wouldn't want to talk about hospitals, as Israel was double tapping hospitals.
she makes no mention of that.
Yeah, she doesn't make a mention of that because we're not funding them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Why is she so eager to criticize and find a way to criticize Israel?
Because of the genocide.
But I don't really recall them saying anything as Iran was
because we don't fund Iran. You're a senator, dude. You're a senator in the United States. You don't understand this? Do we have the dumbest one? It's rare that the dumbest one is on the left. Do we have the dumbest one?
executing thousands and thousands of their protesters for that. Now, there was never any genocide in Gaza, absolutely. And then,
well, unless you talk to virtually every international organization that makes those determinations. But if you ignore all of those and listen to Netanyahu, then certainly there's no genocide in Gaza.
There shouldn't ever be any conditions for aid for Israel because they were in an existential war. That's part of the problem.
Never any conditions for aid. You can just do a genocide, says Fetterman. Jeremy said, as long as Dems leave the cats alone, I'm fine.
Problem with the very anti-Israel part of my party. So call that what it is. Why wouldn't you can't just stand? And why would you align yourself for raging anti-Semitites and
anti-Semitites? Criticizing Israel does not align you with Iran. That's not how any of this works.
Very pro-Hamas people like Hassan Piker. And now, why can't you just call it what it is? You know, there's
or Assad. They don't know any other. They don't know anybody else. They just always say Assad. Is he pro-Hamas? Has he said anything that's pro-Hamas? I don't honestly know. Let me know in the chat if there's like some quote that was pro-Hamas, but I don't know if he said anything pro-Hamas.
There's a rot in my party standing with pro-Hamas people like that, whether it's even in the New York Times. They're affectionated with him. So, I mean, where we are and call this is and stand with Israel, that's our special ally, and there was never a genocide. And
Yo,
when
our special widow friend, and they didn't do no genocides. Everybody got to be real nice to Israel. They're our special friend.
there is a genocide where you're executing tens of thousands of people in Iran, why not and call that out too?
Because we're not funding them, dummy.
Your party also.
God, we got a dumb one. I don't know if he's the dumbest one, but he's fucking right up there. Right up there. Patrick, you can't talk about word salads when Donald Trump exists, bud. I'm tired of you guys just like the word salad thing. It's always about a woman. It's always about a woman who is thoughtful, and she might say I say all the fucking time. That's what happens when you don't have scripted answers and you're thinking about something, but you don't get to talk about word salad with Donald Trump. If we want to play this game, we've done it before, but like, give me a date and I'll pull a Donald Trump speech and you tell me what the fuck he's talking about. Let's play this game, Patrick. Patrick, choose a date, any date. Or anybody, anybody choose a date. Anybody in the chat, choose a date from the last year. And we're going to see if Patrick can figure out what the fuck Trump says. Anybody got a date there? January 12th. Transcript. All right. And then there's a bunch of, all right. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll, and I'm going to leave the pointer right here, and I'm going to scroll up and down. And the first person I see that says stop, we're going to stop there, and we're going to read 4 sentences, and you have to tell me what he's talking about. So first person to say stop, that's when I'll stop. Stop. All right. We're going to read 4 sentences. Oh, shit, that's at the bottom. Motherfucker. Let's try that again. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, stop. All right. We were right there. So let's find the start. In particular, if our border security measures are reversed, it will trigger a tidal wave of illegal immigration, a wave like you've never seen before. And I can tell you that already waves are starting to come up from 2,000 and 1,500 miles away. We see what's coming, and they're coming because they think that it's gravy train at the end. It's going to be a gravy train. Change the name from the caravans, which I think we came up with, to the gravy train, because that's what they're looking for. Looking for the gravy. This will be an unmitigated calamity for national security, public safety, and public health. It would destroy millions and millions of jobs and claim thousands of innocent lives. I guess it's not a word salad. He's not really a salad guy. It was like word gravy. He's talking about Hunter Biden. Yeah, this is about the laptop. This is about Hillary's emails. Yeah, what's he talking about there? That's not a word salad? There's a massive run-on sentence of nothing. Yeah, you don't get to talk about AOC saying, You don't get to do that. I want to show this video from Elizabeth Warren I came across today. I really like this. This explains things very, very well. Just a reminder to all of you MAGA cucks in here, while you openly support the policies of the Trump administration, they take all of our money and they give it to rich people. And then they tell you, if we don't give all this money to the rich people, then you will lose all your money, which they're already taking to you. But this is a good way to explain just how much of a gift this administration is giving to rich people.
Taylor Swift's Eras
cue Pocahontas jokes.
Tour was the highest grossing concert tour of all time, making over $2 billion. Wow. Now, does that seem like a lot of money to you? Oh, it is, but not compared to the tax handout that Donald Trump gave to Jeff Bezos and Amazon last year. Let's just take a quick look at the numbers. Starting off, the amount of money Donald Trump and the Republicans gave to Jeff Bezos and Amazon as a tax break is right around here. And how much the Eras Tour made is right around here. That's right. Trump gave Amazon 4 times as much in tax breaks in 1 year than the entire Eras tour made. And there are a lot of big numbers right below that, too. This is roughly Kim Kardashian's entire net worth. Right around here is how much LeBron James made over his 23-season career. Wow. And here is how much the typical American household makes in any given year. Yeah, you can't even see the line here. Put another way, it would take the average household about 100,000 years to make as much money as Donald Trump gave to Amazon last year. So you might be thinking, whoa, how did Amazon get such a sweet deal? And the answer is simple. Donald Trump took money that we as a country give to lower healthcare costs, and instead he handed it over to giant corporations. That's how Amazon is now paying 87% less in taxes this year.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah, we don't have like a budget crisis or anything like that. There's nothing we could use that money on. Good. Good. We got to make sure that they keep all that money.
Than last year. 87% off. You know, that is even better than most Black Friday sales. So when you file your taxes this year, just remember Amazon and Jeff Bezos are getting the sweetest deal of all, thanks to Donald Trump.
Did you see how many people get upset when we just show a woman speaking? Just furious. They couldn't even help themselves with the Pocahontas jokes. They just went with it anyways. Yeah, I'm just going to do it. I know he said I was going to do it, but I got to fucking do it. It's Elizabeth. I got to say Pocahontas. I can't stop myself. It's just a woman, guys. It's fine. You can just listen to her talk and not freak the fuck out. You could just listen and be like, hey, that seems bad that we're giving this much money to the wealthy people that have all the money. Maybe we shouldn't give them all that money. Maybe perhaps we could pay for like healthcare or education, or I don't know what you guys care about. Condoms for family reunions. I'm not sure, but whatever you guys are into, we could use that money for something else. And they laid off 16,000 jobs last month. I didn't remember that. That's crazy. All right. Kash Patel is on a new press tour, telling the truth with Kash Patel, with his buddy Dan Bongina, and it's as pathetic as you think it is. It is just a circle jerk of telling people how great they are and how great this administration is, while this cross-eyed dumb fuck is currently covering up the Epstein files, and this guy couldn't hack it, so he quit and went back to podcasting.
And Dan, you know why it's called the President's Daily Briefing? Because the president decides what are the intel priorities in that briefing. And President Trump has decided what intel priorities agencies like the FBI and CIA are to act upon.
So is that why we're not investigating what's in the Epstein files? That was a whoopsie, Kash. That was a whoopsie. We don't get to choose what we investigate. Historically, the FBI has been independent of the president, and they kind of just choose what they investigate based on the facts. But did he just admit that they only investigate what the president wants? He sets the agenda. So if they're not investigating claims from the Epstein files, who do we blame there? Or he's lying, right? I guess you guys are just going to turn on Kash Patel because you can't turn on Trump.
That type of leadership is what has led to the historic reduction in crime. That type of leadership is what led to us capturing 6 of the FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives. That type of leadership got us, the Abbey Gate bomber and the Benghazi bomber, on top of the 6. That type of leadership, Dan, you know this, enabled us to do the Maduro operation, which the FBI played a role in, and all these other operations, most of which we can't talk about, but that type of leadership led to a 35% increase in espionage actors by this FBI alone. And what the president does,
and covering up the Epstein files, it also led to that.
Doesn't get enough credit for is he's the one that directs the intelligence in the presidential daily briefing to set the priorities for this FBI to act. And this FBI, and Dan, you know why it's called?
I wouldn't brag about that. Somebody said like maybe this is him just trying to get off the hook when they come calling for the FBI. Maybe that's possible. Yeah, endless glazing. It's so crazy. It gets dumber. I was going to do a whole bunch of these, but I just decided on these 3 clips. Here's a story that definitely is true. This definitely happened. It's definitely not something that they made up.
Because when you and I traveled around the country, what happened when we went to towns across America? I know it happened to you. People came up to us, moms and pops.
I want to point out that he hasn't said what happened yet. And Bongino has already agreed. Why are you guys taking them seriously? Don't agree before.
America. I know it happened to you. People came up to us.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure did. I would have changed my story right then. I would have changed right then. They always came up there and they would tickle your butthole with a stick. Oh,
Moms and pops came up to us from every town, every corner we went to and said, thank you to you and this Trump administration for keeping our kids safe and keeping our murderers off the streets and keeping the drugs out of our communities and letting our children have a safe environment.
yeah, for sure that happens. For sure, there's crowds of people just walking up to the FBI director and profusely thanking them. For sure, this happens. You know, definitely a real thing that happened, and not them just blowing smoke up each other's asses.
Environment to grow up in. I heard it over and over again. It's not something you and I personally did. It's what this FBI delivered while we were leading it, and we're going to continue to do that.
So stupid. Why is the FBI director on a fucking podcast anyways? We don't need you on a podcast. Go do your fucking job. You're not doing very well. Can you please go do your job and get off a podcast? Then here was my the last part, Bongino here. And I actually do believe this. I don't think this is a lie.
On your neck every 5 minutes, micromanaging every decision you make rather than allowing you to go work. The president, he's a spreadsheets guy. I want the homicide rate and the crime rate down. He's not going to sit there every 5 minutes and micromanage every decision. If you're acting appropriately within the bounds of the Constitution, following the rules and engaging in the process and getting it done.
Anybody believe that Donald Trump said, as long as you're acting appropriately and within the bounds of the Constitution? I believe that this is what happens. Not, though, because he is a great leader, because he's lazy. And so he just comes in and they tell him how great they're doing, and then they give him all the credit. Like, I can only be doing great because of you. And he's like, I love to hear that. Go ahead. And we've seen his cabinet meetings. They just have a round table, and each person gets like 3 minutes, and they spend the first 2 minutes blowing him, the last minute telling what they've accomplished, and then the last 10 seconds saying how they could not have done it without him. He's just a lazy guy that doesn't really want to be involved.
He just wants it done. But him allowing us to work, especially after early on the successes of Viper, Operation Viper, the violent crime operation in Tennessee, he saw the results and said, guys, we got to expand this nationwide. There's no reason we can't replicate this in cities across the country.
I think you just hit upon the brilliance of true leadership in what President Trump said to you and I. He said, go reduce violent crime. Go defend the homeland. Stop children from overdosing. And let's protect our children online. Those are some of the priorities issued. That's not
leadership. That's just him saying what he wants you to do, by the way. That's not leadership at all. That's just an agenda.
But he didn't say this.
And an agenda, by the way, that everybody would agree with. I will say this, though. Like, there is a certain degree of leadership that, like, if you have a team of people who have autonomy and do their jobs and don't feel like you're looking over their shoulder, that's a great thing. When I used to run call centers, I remember probably the best person that ever worked for me. She's a video game designer now. And when she left, she just asked if I would write a recommendation. I wrote her a recommendation. Then she wrote something for, I don't remember what, maybe it was on LinkedIn or something for me. And that was what she said too, is like, this is the first time I ever had like full autonomy to do my job how I wanted to do. And I was like, well, that's not me all the time. I gave her full autonomy because she was just smarter than me and she knew how to do her job better than I did. So with her, it was like, I just got to help get shit out of your way. But there were other people who I would never give autonomy to. Great leadership isn't always giving somebody autonomy. If you have people who are dog shit at their job looking at you, Kristi Noem, perhaps you should fire them. Perhaps you should have some oversight. The problem with Trump is he just gives everybody autonomy because he's lazy. And then when they fuck up, he doesn't really know because he has no clue what's going on. So you have all these people in the administration just fucking up over and over and over again. But they come there and they're like, actually, we're doing great. Everything's perfect. And it's all due to you. And he's like, oh, okay, I like that. You can keep your job. Not really a ringing endorsement of Trump there by Kash Patel. But once again, please stay off the podcast, bud. Jerry Mandarin said, can someone bend Kash's nose back in place? I bet they could. But that's possible. Let me update this here. I think I got all those. Awesome. All right, I got all those. I want to talk about the economy briefly here for a second, and we haven't talked to Kevin Hassett for a while. We haven't seen him for a little bit, and it's nice to see Kevin Hassett back lying for the administration again. Here he is with CNBC, and just handed a complete softball and makes a mess of it. Goes down swinging.
A study by the New York Federal
All right, what it is, y'all? Morning from Gilbert, G-Town. What's up, Gilbert? We're neighbors.
Reserve claims 90% of the tariff burden is being shouldered by U.S. firms and consumers, but the White House disagrees. Joining us now, White House National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. This will be, Kevin, good to see you. This will be a continuation of a discussion we had yesterday with Ambassador, with our trade representative, Jameson Greer, and we talked about whether something's regressive, but we'll try to get into all.
So I'm pointing out, Patrick said, when a leader tells you what needs to be done, that's leadership. No, you're a cuck. That's not leader. That's taking directions, bud. And that was a good insight into you. We're starting to figure you out. Yeah, you like taking directions. Pull it out. Sit over there in the corner. Make eye contact. No noises. You can't join in. But make sure you keep eye contact. And keep the camera rolling, would you? Make sure you get a good shot of your wife's face. That's not leadership, bud. That's just daddy issues, probably.
All of this, and we saw an inflation number last week, 2.4%. If it is being shouldered by U.S. firms and consumers, U.S. firms are eating some of it, or consumers it's being offset by something else, whether it's lower gas prices or something else, because just in the numbers themselves, that doesn't hold water, right?
Yeah, I mean, the paper is an embarrassment.
All right. Okay, so the paper is a Liberty Street economics paper. It was published by the New York Fed, and it said that 90% of the tariff burden is being shouldered by U.S. firms and consumers. So Kevin Hassett is obviously going to disagree. And I thought when I heard this, I'm like, all right, I'm going to pull up numbers. I'm going to check his numbers. This is perhaps the worst criticism of a paper I've ever heard.
I mean, the paper is an embarrassment. It's, I think, the worst paper I've ever seen in the history of the Federal Reserve System. Yeah. The people associated with this paper should.
Okay, so first, it's the worst thing he's ever seen. Second, the people are biased because we got to add in the bias.
Presumably be disciplined. Because what they've done is they've put out a conclusion which has created a lot of news that's highly partisan based on analysis that wouldn't be accepted in a first semester econ class.
Okay, I took first semester econ. Let's see if if what their paper said would be accepted in econ class.
The bottom line is that if you're wondering like who bears the burden of something, of a tariff, then you remember, Joe, you got supply curves, demand curves, you shift them around, you got consumer surplus, you got producer surplus, and then you look and see how it all works out in the end.
If you gave this answer in first semester econ, your professor would say, you didn't read, did you? You're just making shit up right now, aren't you? That was gibberish. Let's go back to that. Somebody explain what he's saying here.
Accepted in a first semester econ class. The bottom line is that if you're wondering like who bears the burden of something.
Okay, it's easy to tell who bears the burden of a tariff. You know how you tell? You look at the exporter, and you see how much the exporter charged, and then you take the final price of what it was sold for, and you work backwards to the exporter. So in this case, if I wanted to, what do we got here? I've got a spoon right here. If I wanted to know who paid the tariff on this spoon, I would start with where I purchased the spoon. Let's say I purchased the spoon at Bed Bath & Beyond. I got a great sale, and I got this spoon and 20 other spoons, and I paid $50 for these spoons. Okay, let's work backwards. The final price was $50. How much did Bed Bath & Beyond pay for this set of spoons? Let's say they get 50%, so they paid $25. Okay, there's their markup, $25. And how much did they pay for it from the supplier? And you look at the supplier or the exporter, and you say, oh, it's $10. And let's just assume that everybody has the same markup. Well, if everybody normally has the same markup, but the markup jumped between the exporter and Bed Bath and Beyond, and then me, like I ultimately paid it, and if they increased their margins, they passed that on to me, or they could eat part of that. But the one person who is according to this, what they did is they went back and they looked at the exporter prices, and 90% of the time, the exporter was not eating that cost. The cost and the increased margins were applied after they were imported to the United States. That's how you tell. Now, what he says here is absolute gibberish. This makes no fucking sense.
Tariff, then you remember, Joe, you got supply curves, demand curves, you shift them around.
Why would the supply curves and the demand curves, you shift them? Why are we talking supply and demand right now?
You got consumer surplus, you got producer surplus.
Okay. Those are all things that you can look at economically, but not super helpful when determining who bore the brunt of the tariff.
And then you look and see how it all works out in the end.
Oh.
And they're basically only looking at changes in prices. So they're assuming that quantities don't move at all. But
it doesn't assume that. I looked at it, by the way. It doesn't assume that. This analysis is of exports into imports and then the final price by consumers. And it's looking at margins. This is nonsense. He just knows that there's nobody here, MAGA, that understands what he's saying. And I don't know why, like, what's going on with Joe Kernan? Like, he can't jump in here. Does he not know this?
guess what? Quantities did move at all. So the basic theory of President Trump's tariffs is that we're importing stuff from China, but we got producers in the U.S. that make the same stuff, maybe at a slightly higher price.
Yeah, but this study only looked at the imports. So if it was stuff in the United States, it wasn't. Those aren't applicable. They're not imports. You don't have tariffs on shit that you make here. This is so remarkably stupid. I don't know if he's dumb or good at this. I haven't really figured him out yet, but it doesn't make any fucking sense.
If we bring the stuff home, create the demand at home, then that will hurt China and drive up wages in the U.S. And
none of which matters on who pays the tariffs, though. None of this has anything to do with paying tariffs. True, if you reshore manufacturing jobs, that might hurt exporters from other countries, but this study was on tariffs that people actually paid and who paid the brunt of those tariffs. And 90% of it, which is low, by the way, there have been other studies and the numbers are 94, 95, 96%. This is actually one of the lowest numbers. They're saying 90% of that is being passed along to American consumers or business owners.
And American consumers will be better off. So what have we seen? Prices have gone down. Inflation is down.
Nope. Prices didn't go down. That would be deflation. Inflation is where it was when Trump took over. And if we have 3% inflation, just under 3% inflation, then that means the prices have gone up. That's just math. You can't say prices go down and also say we have inflation. Even if it's 0.1% inflation, that's prices going up. Just like it's not. It doesn't feel real. Honest to God, it just doesn't feel real that this with this administration. This all feels like a really fucking cruel joke. There's so many parts of my friend actually texted me this morning. He's going through some shit, but he was like, "Bro, is this honestly real life?" His life was good. I'll share a story a little bit. I think I've told you about him before, but he and his wife have wanted to have children for a long time. They finally got in a position where they could have children. He had good insurance, and they had a child, and she has autism, and it's like pretty limiting autism. They thought she was going to be nonverbal. She's not. They've done a ton of therapy. They've spent a fortune. They spend all their money with this child, but she requires basically 24/7 care. Unless she's asleep, somebody has to be with her. And he was so excited. And then the state was able to give them help. So they then had somebody, like an in-home therapist that could come every day, and it worked miracles for their daughter. She was able to start communicating better. She's learned to manage her emotions a little bit better. She's been able to self-regulate. Great. And then all of a sudden, Trump comes in and just slashes that, which to a parent with kids with disabilities, like, what? Why the fuck are we doing this? Oh, Bezos needed more money? Got it. Oh, okay. Oh, we needed masked people in the streets? Oh, cool. Very, very important. And then you wake up every day and the administration just fucking lies to you. And it's, if you know anything, if you have like a basic understanding of economics, you know this is a lie.
Over time, import prices dropped a lot in the first half of the year and then leveled off, and real wages were up $1,400 on average last year.
I thought, see, there's the straw man. I thought tariffs were going to cause a recession and tank the economy. Cool straw man. Who said that? Who are you quoting right there? See what this is MAGA to a T. They just don't fucking care that they get lied to. Yeah, well, I know that, yeah, he might be lying, but what about you guys? You thought it was going to destroy everything. You're getting lied to. Why are you so comfortable being lied to? I people in my life, there's people in my life I'm dealing with now that it blows me away. It's just like, why do you get mad at other people when it's exposed that people are lying? Like, they tell you, hey, this person's lying to you. And then you get mad at the person who told you. That's what it feels like you guys are doing to me right now. I'm just the messenger. I'm just telling you he's lying to you. Why are you mad at me? Why are you changing the subject? Stop worshiping politicians. It's dumb.
Which means that consumers were made better off by the tariffs. And so consumers couldn't have been made better off by the tariffs if this New York Fed analysis was correct. It's really just an
The New York Fed analysis says that 90% of the tariff burden was shouldered by the consumer. All this other shit, he's making an argument that they're not making so that he doesn't have to address the real argument.
embarrassment. I can't imagine who signed off on it, frankly.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the other people who've done studies. So the New York Fed showed that it was 90%. Liberty Street Economics, going through U.S. Census and Bureau and Trade statistics from January of last year to November of 2025, found 94% pass-through to U.S. importers and consumers. Tariff rate raised average rates from 2.6 to 13%. Exporters barely cut prices, and so U.S. buyers absorb most of those costs. Those are their findings. It also aligns with prior research by MBER in 2019 that had 100% pass-through on Trump's 2018 tariffs. The Kiel Institute in the same year said 96% were shouldered by U.S. consumers. The CBO, the Yale Budget Lab, the Tax Foundation, all of them found the exact same thing. But Kevin Hassett wants you to know that it's silly and it's just a lie and you shouldn't pay attention to it. But the Dow was at 50. That's right. I forgot about the Dow. How could we forget the Dow? All right. To the Epstein files. And I'll check comments here before I get this started. But let's talk about some Epstein stuff today. Alfredo said econ data is fake since the BLS director was fired. That's true. Jamar said, from where did you pull that spoon and why is the end of it brown? Is it brown on the end? Fuck you. It was my coffee spoon this morning, and I do put like mushroom creamer in there and it's brown. So if it was brown, that would be it. You don't use a spoon for that, Jamar. You know better than that. You know, Jamar. You know which kitchen utensils you use for that. All right, this is Robert Garcia here on CNN announcing today that they are going to be sitting down at Les Wexner's mansion for a closed-door hearing with Les Wexner. So we may have some answers. We might have some interesting stuff later on this afternoon and tomorrow.
The most important information for us is really about the money. We know that Wexner was Jeffrey Epstein's single largest benefactor. Wexner, of course, is incredibly wealthy, a billionaire, obviously very well known, not just here in Ohio, but across the country. And when you think about Epstein's wealth, whether it was the plane, the island, the amount of money he had, his homes, much of that came directly from Wexner. And we're not exactly sure why. It's not clear. While Wexner has said that Epstein was a money manager, the amount of wealth, the amount of money that was transferred over is so large that we have significant questions. We, of course, have financial records. We have interviews. When you talk to survivors, they'll all share with you that Wexner was at the center of what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. And so what Wexner knows and why he gave Epstein so much of his own personal wealth is critical to this investigation.
This will be interesting because there's going to be a lot of answers there, and the walls are closing in, and you can see it on Trump's face. You can hear it when he speaks now. at how nervous he is. He's just actively back to like, oh, I'm exonerated, which is a wild thing to say. Like for Donald Trump to sit there and say that he's been exonerated in the Epstein files because Michael Wolff didn't like him is silly. I want to shrink the video on the vertical screen. Oh, okay. Gotcha. I'll do that. That a little. Hopefully that's better. Reminder that this is in the files, and I think we talked about this a couple days ago, but it's a good reminder. This is from Maria Suarez to not sure here, not sure who it went to here, but we know some of the people that got this. This is a housekeeper's grandson that used to be Epstein's housekeeper. And here's the letter that he sent. Mr. Mark Remillard of ABC News gave me your contact info. I'm the grandson, of a woman, it was the housekeeper, of a woman in her 60s who worked at Mr. Epstein's house in Manhattan as a housekeeper between 2012 and 2017. On the day she was fired from her job, she took with her some memory cards, pictures, videotapes, and audio tapes that she had found hidden in the house. We are not looking for monetary compensation at all, but we are being threatened by his lawyers, Mr. Indike and Mr. Khan, to hand over this material to them. This was in 2020. Not sure if I spelt the names correctly. Tried giving it to ABC's Mark Remillard, but because it contains child sex material, he is hesitant to receive it. Another news agency in the U.S. called Fox News verified the authenticity of the material through a local news correspondent here in Columbia, but we were told that they will only release some material and not all for political reasons. If you wish to speak to me, you can call at blank or WhatsApp me at the same number. My wife and I are Catholica and wish no money at all for this. I just 3 weeks ago found out about this because I speak English and my grandmother trusts me. Thank you. Where's that investigation? Kash Patel. Is it because Trump told you not to investigate this? Yeah, ABC and Fox protecting Chomos? Nah, no, they wouldn't do that. I want to play this clip here from Ted Lieu because this is a good reminder. Donald Trump can say whatever he wants about being exonerated. He's not exonerated. There are questions that are asked or that are raised about Donald Trump's connections with Epstein and some of the actions he took in the Epstein files, and they need to be investigated. And I don't know, MAGA, why you don't think these should be investigated.
Why are Republicans so interested in Bill and Hillary Clinton? It's because they're trying to distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times.
You know, it's kind of interesting watching, sorry to do this, but like, I actually haven't talked about Trump till here with the Epstein files, and I still have people saying, all you ever talk about is Trump. How come when we play stuff about Epstein, you guys think of Trump? Why does that keep happening? How come every time we're talking about Epstein files, you guys are like, oh, all you talk about is Trump? I think you guys know too.
In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children. Why?
Yeah, that's in there. He can't just be up there. He just can't be up in front of cameras saying, I'm totally exonerated. No, there are accusations that he raped children. You don't get to say that I'm exonerated. There's nothing in there. Let's move on. It's in there. Yeah, anybody with political gain. Yeah, you got to get it. Everybody. It is interesting to watch. Like everybody thinks, everybody says, like bring everybody down. There is not a single Democrat that's running cover. All of you Republicans are running cover. That totally exonerated him. Oh, good point. Sorry, I forgot. Stop running cover for this guy. All right. I want to correct something here that I was unaware of. I said yesterday that Jasmine Crockett had not refused to take AIPAC money. I had not seen this clip before. I saw it this morning. So I want to correct that apparently on the record, and this was a few months ago, she has denied this.
Progressive.
Or not denied it, agreed not to take AIPAC money.
Progressives really, it's important to them that the candidate they support not take AIPAC money. Are you declining AIPAC money in this?
Yes, this is, I don't even know why we are having a conversation. You know, there used to be that they were like trolling.
She's going to keep talking, but she said yes. Yes, I will decline to take AIPAC money. I missed it. I think a lot of people missed it. I think a lot of people need to correct that.
Online, and they were like, oh, look at this, look at that. And then they were like, okay, well, never mind. And then they were like, oh, well, wait a minute. So she doing it for free. And it's like, actually, I just want people to do this. I want people to be calm. When they feel like they're being gaslit, they probably are.
Progressive.
All right. Just want to point that out. And I pointed that out because this is getting, this primary is getting kind of weird. This was Jasmine Crockett this morning. And I just got to be honest. Like, I have questions about this.
We did receive information suggesting that the federal government did not shut down this segment, number one.
Talking about the Tallarico segment. She said we got evidence that they did not shut down the segment.
That is my understanding, that the federal government didn't shut this down. And we will do an official statement once we get another official statement that we anticipate is going to be coming from Paramount. All right, so we will read what they say, and then we'll go from there. It is our understanding that Colbert, either Mr. Colbert or CBS, decided that they would stick on the air. And this was because of a fear that the FCC may say something to them, and that there may have been advice to just have me on, and then they could clear the issue. It was my understanding that someone somewhere decided we just don't want to do that, and instead we're going to just do it this way.
All
we did receive.
So if we go back to the claim of what they said, it's Colbert's claim, and Colbert says that CBS is the one that told him, and it was because of pressure from the FCC. Here's what I could find this morning. There is an FCC member going after Paramount over the company's apparent decision to bar CBS late night host Stephen Colbert from airing an interview with Tallarico. Anna Gomez, who's a Democrat, said this is yet another troubling example of corporate capitulation in the face of this administration's broader campaign to censor and control speech. The FCC has no lawful authority to pressure broadcasters for political purposes or to create a climate that chills free expression. Gomez added, CBS is fully protected under the First Amendment to determine what interviews it airs, which makes its decision to yield to political pressure all the more disappointing. Gomez said it's no secret that Paramount, CBS's parent company, has regulatory matters before the government, but corporate interests cannot justify retreating from airing newsworthy content. The FCC is powerless to impose restrictions on protected speech, and any attempt to intimidate broadcasters into self-censorship undermines both press freedom and public trust. The reason I share that is this is now being spun as Tallarico and Colbert lying. It feels to me like Jasmine Crockett and Tallarico and Colbert are all saying the same thing. Somebody from the FCC definitely came out and said that they are pressuring CBS. CBS told Colbert not to air it. And I think that this just has something to do with two things. Number one, Tallarico raised $2.5 million after that interview. If you go look at searches for Tallarico, you can see here, these are the average searches for James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett here. So hers are red, his are blue. And you see a massive spike for Tallarico. Got much higher. There is no question that whether they're right or wrong, there's no question that the Republicans would rather run against Crockett than Tallarico. They are far more afraid of Tallarico than they are Crockett. So to me, like it feels like fuckery to me. It feels like the FCC purposely like back channeling this shit and then being like, oh, to try and take out Tallarico. That's what it feels like to me. Did I see Crockett accuse Tallarico of racism? Is that in regards to what he said about who was it about? What's up, Jen?
Yeah. Brenna was actually had talked about this before, that there's internal polling and I'll have to find the sources on it, that the Republicans, the right wing, think that Tallarico has a shot of beating Cornyn in the election, and so they're supporting Crockett. So they're funneling information and resources because they think that Jasmine wouldn't win overall in the campaign.
Yeah, I've seen the same polling with head-to-head against Cornyn. Tallarico definitely does better than Crockett.
So, I mean, to me, partially, that could see how that could jive.
Yeah. So I would just, the only reason I bring that up is like, I don't think it's smart to play into that. I would love to see this race play out where Crockett and Tallarico present their vision for the state of Texas and for the country, and then we decide on that. I hope it doesn't descend into this because Republicans are going to be involved. Republicans are going to do some fuckery, and they're going to do everything they can to help Crockett, unless polls start coming out showing that Crockett is doing better against Cornyn than Tallarico, in which case they'd switch. But I do think that that's why the FCC is kind of staying mum on this. They didn't stay mum on it when it was The View. Brennan Carr put out a public statement that they were thinking about censoring The View because they had on Tallarico. I don't doubt for 1 second that somebody from the FCC reached out to Barry Weiss at CBS and was like, hey, she ran that message down to the producer like, hey, we're not doing this. Stop the vote. Shut up, idiot. Amber said, did you know Colbert's show averages 2.4 million views? The YouTube video alone with Tallarico in one day has 6 million. I did not know that. It is easier to get YouTube views, though, in all fairness, than it is on TV. If you're not DVRing that show, and who watches live TV anymore outside of sports? Does anybody watch live TV unless it's sports? I can't remember the last time I watched live TV. Maybe news. I don't remember the last time I watched news either, but you do? Dolphin? Most people, old people. They're calling you old, Dolphin. My mom does. She's 77. Yeah, I don't think that many people do. All right. I want to show this clip of these two Nepo babies blaming banks for why they're committing crimes. This is a pretty interesting clip here. The Nepo babies here, of course, are Don Jr. and Eric Trump. They were on with CNBC today and playing just full victim mode. Why are you committing crimes? Because people are mean to us.
Well, you know what the critics would say. They'd say that the credibility factor is the Trump name and the Trump White House, and that everyone, is here to curry favor.
I think, again, the great irony is they didn't give us much of a choice. When you had they created this monster. When you had
they did it. We had no choice but to create a money laundering operation. They made us do it. What other choice did we have? We had to do this.
Either one of us could have called any banker in New York over the last 20 years and gotten a loan for a building, and we just realized we were sort of the top of the Ponzi scheme that was banking.
Well, you know what
I didn't get that last part about being at the top of the. So were you running a Ponzi scheme? You might be now. They're talking about World Liberty Financial, which is a money laundering organization. It's a way for Donald Trump to cash in on his presidency, and they're saying that it's not his fault. It's not any of their fault. It's actually your fault, Dems. It's your fault, banks. You made us become criminals. If there's anything that MAGA and the Trumps are more allergic to than owning their own shit, I don't know what it might be. They're joking. Oh, this joke. Yeah, it's always a joke. Yeah, for sure. It's a funny joke. Very, very funny joke. Let's watch it again. Maybe I missed the joke. Sorry. Yeah, I don't have a sense of humor. Let's catch this joke here.
the critics would say. They'd say that the credibility factor is the Trump name and the Trump White House, and that everyone, is here to curry favor.
I think, again, the great irony is they didn't give us much of a choice. When you had they created this monster. When you had either.
Hilarious. That's so fun. That's so funny. I get it now. You're right. That was a joke. That was very, very funny. How did I miss it the first time? I have Eric Trump talking about Bitcoin. Again, just pumping their own interests to benefit their dad.
Because guess what? There's a lot of countries around the world, rampant corruption, bad governments, bad currencies, massive inflation. These people don't stand a chance. They get a pay.
If you added up all the currencies in the world, it would not compare, like all the bad currencies in the world, it would not come close to comparing to the amount of shitty cryptocurrencies that exist. And by a margin of probably like 5,000 to 1. If you can go on anywhere you can buy meme coins, it's unlimited. There is nothing more full of absolute dog shit scams than cryptocurrency. we got to start talking about these guys for who they are. Fucking morons. Just grifting criminal morons. They have no idea how any of this shit works.
Inflation, these people don't stand a chance. They get a paycheck. They don't stand a chance. They may as well go and throw it in a fire and just burn it.
Now I don't get a paycheck. I've had a paycheck. I can't imagine a scenario where getting a paycheck, my best option would be throwing it in a fire. I don't know any scenario where that would be an equal option for keeping that paycheck and using that money.
Whereas now, all of a sudden, using a simple telephone, using your iPhone, all of a sudden you can buy U.S.-backed, one-to-one as Don said, based on U.S. treasuries, you can buy stablecoin, and you can actually be part of the greatest financial system in the world. But
what does that have to do with a paycheck? If you get a paycheck, you might as well burn it, or you can buy a stablecoin. Those are your only options. Burn your money or buy a stablecoin. Maga, explain it, please. You sound just as moronic. Yeah, well, because I'm trying to figure out what the fuck they're saying, bud. I know that you don't understand any of this, but explain that to me. Is that probably a joke on that one too? Don't buy food or pay bills. Buy our coins instead. To the moon. I work in fintech, and this is well established. It's well established that you should throw away your paycheck and buy World Liberty coin. No, nothing from you guys. You guys get real. How come MAGA gets so quiet if we start talking about economics? They don't want to be here for economics. Never mind. I bet RTP was raised by his mother. Yep, she was around. Good one. Fucking burn, dude. What are these insults today? I bet your mother loved you. Got me.
It's a wonderful thing for
But gold has been doing well too, and I know stablecoin is different than Bitcoin, but you've been big proponents and bullish on Bitcoin as well.
We still are. I'm a huge proponent of Bitcoin. I do think it hits $1 million. I think it's one of the greatest performing asset classes. Go back 2 years. Bitcoin was at what, 16,000?
Let's look at Bitcoin price from year to year. Let's see if he's close on this. $2 years. Not even close, dude. What is it, January of 2024? Or February? 60,000. What did he say? Didn't he say 16?
Performing asset classes. Go back 2 years. Bitcoin was at what, 16,000? Where?
No, that was when was it at 16,000? 2020. Close, bud. That's really close.
Is it at right now? 70?
Yeah.
Right? If you look at the last 10 years, Bitcoin has gone up 70% a year on average, year over year for the last decade. Name an asset class that has performed better than Bitcoin. And now, obviously, you have lots of volatility. If you don't want volatility, go invest in some muni. Go have a great time. Go invest in some treasury.
If you don't like gambling, invest smartly. All right.
You're going to have volatility with something that has tremendous upside, but
you're going to have volatility with something that is entirely speculative. That's why there's volatility. Still to this day, it doesn't have much utility other than people want it and it has a limited supply, so the value goes up. Wealthy people use it to run sex trafficking rings, which is, I guess, fun. Drug dealers use it to traffic drugs. But legitimate business people don't really use Bitcoin very much. It's almost been entirely propped up by bad actors and wealthy people trying to hide finances, purchasing it, and that's what's caused the value to go up. RTB's real name is Clarence, and his parents had a real good marriage. Yeah. What's the matter, dog? You embarrassed? Yeah. These guys are fucking idiots, and they're so rich. They're so rich just because their daddy won the presidency. Eisen then asked them a question about the value of World Liberty Financial, which has been confusing, and the 49% stake that they sold to an Emirati royal family member. And let's just see if they answer this question or even come close to answering this question.
I want to ask you about, the World Liberty Corporation, which has been in the news, and there was this big Wall Street Journal report about the 49% stake that was sold to an Emirati royal family member after your father was elected president, raising questions about whether they were doing that so they could get access to AI chips.
A, my father has nothing to do with. B, it has nothing to do with AI chips. And C,
you got evidence for that, bud? We're going to need an explanation for why you guys sold half of your business and they didn't get any revenue from that, and then why your dad approved the sale of chips to them. This isn't an acceptable answer.
As to AI chips.
A, my father has nothing to do with. B, it has nothing.
He owns 70% of the company. He has something to do with it.
Nothing to do with AI chips. And
2, he approved the sale of those AI chips, and he alone could approve that sale. So he has something to do with their company in that he's the majority owner, and 2, he approved that he had everything to do with all of this.
C, we met in the Middle East the first time.
Yes.
Oh, well, I guess that settles it. They met in the Middle East the first time. So I guess we just ignore it. They went all the way over there on an airplane. MAGA, you here? Can you explain it to me? Is that a good explanation for why his dad had nothing to do with this? Why we shouldn't look into this? And D, Hunter Biden had a laptop. That's right. And her emails. The Dow's at 50,000.
There's not a person in that room. There's not a banker. There's not a fund manager that doesn't go to the Middle East and to the, whether the sovereign wealth funds of the world. They're some of the biggest.
Yeah, but they can't approve. They can't unilaterally approve the sale of AI chips to the same people that invested in their company. Nobody's saying you can't invest with the Emiratis or the Saudis. They're saying that this investment appears to be a quid pro quo, and it's pretty obviously a quid pro quo. Why are you answering questions that nobody's asking?
Investors in every fund in America to critique the one.
They remind me of Beavis and Butthead. That's true. That's pretty apt.
Here and not talk about the others would be nonsense. It's literally what they do. And so they have done that. They invested in it, and they've actually had already over a 4x return on their investment. It's a great investment and has nothing to do with the other. We've been dealing with.
Wait, hold on. So the value of their investment has gone up. They're not entitled to any royalties, by the way, but the value of their investment has gone up. Therefore, not a quid pro quo. That's the argument they're going with? They've made money, so it cannot be a quid pro quo.
The conflict of interest stuff.
That's a good point. Yeah. So top of the Ponzi scheme again. Good point, Bonnie.
Years. I mean, they tried all this nonsense the first time around.
Nope. Nobody's ever tried this nonsense ever before because you didn't have World Liberty Financial. You didn't have the ability to funnel foreign money that was untracked into your business and then do them favors like this. This has never been tried before. But they're just going to then point out again, well, my daddy's a criminal and they're always investigating him.
Frankly, it's gotten old. They were the ones that put us into this position by creating legislation to try to put us out of business. We just fought back. We weren't willing to sit in the corner.
Nobody created legislation to put them out of business. A bank refused to do business with them anymore because of January 6th. Said, we can do business with whoever the fuck we want. We don't want to do business with you anymore. There were other banks that they could work with. There was no legislation that tried to legislate them out of business. So he doesn't answer the question about the criminal operation they're running, this money laundering operation where they're making billions of dollars. And then he says, but even if we were, it's not our fault. You guys made us do it.
Curl up in a ball and die like they would love us to do. That's not how we function. That's not how we operate. And you can see that whether it's my father or us.
Plus, we're tough. We ain't bitches. Okay, but you're doing crimes. Could you answer that question, please? Nobody cares how tough you think you are. I don't curl up in a ball. I lay flat as fuck.
It's never going to happen. We're going to do what we need to do to fight back.
Right?
You know, it's a crazy law of like unintended consequences. If you look at what they tried to do when they threw my father off of Twitter, and they did the same to Don. And
Excuse me, Twitter? Now we're on Twitter? You guys had to run a money laundering operation because your dad got kicked off Twitter? This is incoherent. Can you imagine this in front of like a jury? Hey, why are you running a money laundering operation? They flew my dad off to Twitter. They didn't, and the bank, they said they don't want to do no more business with him. And so we had to do a money laundering. How good? This wouldn't fly in court.
myself and pretty much everybody.
It's called X, Eric. Sorry, yeah, that's right. Fucking loser.
Else in our family. They took us off of Twitter. They
After
took us off of Facebook. They took us off of Instagram. They took us off of YouTube. They took us off of Google. They skewed all the searches. They did everything they could to suppress. So guess what we did?
So guess what we did? We created a money laundering operation, and now we take bribes. Yeah, that'll show them.
Went out and we formed Truth Social. You know.
Oh, now we're on
too
Truth
long
Social?
After that, you know, all the banks. They
We're talking about, okay. But we're talking about World Liberty Financial here.
start canceling us left and right, every single one of them, every single one of the big banks. They start canceling us. Guess what we did?
What?
We went out and we got into DeFi because we realized it was the future of finance. And you know, the great.
But they don't pay any of their bills with DeFi. They have a bank. The Trump organization isn't paying people out of World Liberty Financial. They have banks. They're not running payroll with World Liberty Financial. Again, they have banks. This doesn't make any fucking sense. This is the most obvious criminal operation I've ever seen, and they have absolutely no ability to defend it. It would be one thing if they were like, we created World Liberty Financial and now all of our employees from the Trump organization are paid through World Liberty Financial tokens, but they're not. They're paid through a bank. It doesn't make any sense. You distort what they're saying. No, I'm saying, no, I'm not distorting what they're saying. You're too stupid to follow this, I'm guessing. Do you want to give me a different explanation for what the fuck they're saying here? Why would being debanked cause them to start World Liberty Financial? And if the thing that they were trying to solve is that they couldn't access their funds and they couldn't pay out vendors or employees, but they're not paying out vendors and employees through World Liberty Financial, then you explain it. How many employees do you pay? Not that many. Not that many. We got Jen, and then your dad is taking on a part-time job as my bidet, so I pay him. Any other questions here? I am explaining. Now you explain it. I am explaining it. They are running a money laundering operation where they accept bribes from foreign entities and then they give permission to U.S. companies to sell them products, and they make billions of dollars doing it. It is a quid pro quo, and they are laundering money. That's what's happening. And the reason that they haven't been investigated is because the person that would investigate them is Pam Bondi, and she's not going to investigate them, and nobody else can investigate them. That's why.
The irony is half of the very executives that called us back in those days to cancel us are actually in this room right now. It is a law of unintended consequences, and I think, you know, for a long time they fought it, and I think
we showed you. You don't want to bank with us? Fuck you then. We're going to commit crimes. Gotcha, bitch. What are you being smug about, Eric?
At this point, they realize they can't fight it. The train has left the station. This is happening worldwide. The whole world is adopting crypto in a very, very big, fast manner. And they'd much rather be on the side of something that...
Yeah, no. All the corrupt people are. Everybody who doesn't want to be... doesn't want people tracking where their money's going. That's who's adopting this. That's why crypto went up so much. If it was you and I buying cryptocurrency, it wouldn't be worth that much. Why? Because there's not a ton of utility in it. But these wealthier people who are trying to hide money, they want crypto, so they buy, and they're making multi-million-dollar purchases, and so they need as much crypto as they can. And because there's a limited supply, if they buy it up, the price goes up. How this works? It's literally just like a different way to do business that allows you to avoid any accountability from the federal government. And the Trump administration has shut down basically all crypto investigations. They're not even investigating any of this shit now. If you're trying to commit a crime right now, the way to go is cryptocurrency, because the Trump administration is just closing their eyes. They're not looking at that anymore.
Clearly the future, than be trying to fight it in perpetuity.
Well, I don't think the
All
Democrats.
right. Good explanation, boys. Dad's going to be proud of you. He probably won't tell him he's proud. They're probably just sitting by their phone. You going to say it? Is he going to say it? Come on. Then he doesn't say it. Just a reminder, guys, as we're going on today, we are crowd funded. So anything you can do to help us knock out our gift goal every single day would be greatly appreciated. We've got that's what's left in the gift goal there. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, TikTok gifts, TikTok shop sure is neat. Super chats, the normal ways. So let's move on here. Yeah, what time is it? About an hour and a half. I want to show you this. This is Mark Wayne, Lee Harvey McMullen, with perhaps the biggest face plant I've ever seen in my entire life. Important to remind you guys, this is a man who just like inherited daddy's business, kind of a Nepo baby himself, isn't super well read, and is still just like a true believer in us versus them. And we are the good guys and China is the bad guys. And so this is a Senate Appropriations Committee hearing on security and foreign assistance for Haiti. And what Mark Wayne Lee Harvey McMullen's Osmond is about to do is try and take his own witnesses that they brought and get them to explain to him why China is the bad guy for propping up Haiti. And it just goes so well.
Senator Murphy, I understand your point of view. I am not here to debate you at all, but I think you're exaggerating what took place to some degree in Iraq by saying a severe massacre which led to the long-term stability.
He really failed his GED? He did just say massacre. That's not surprising.
What took place from someone that comes from somewhat of that world. But I do respect your opinion and what you're trying to get to. Ambassador Wooster's right. What's our options? Who are we going to put in place? Are we going to commit troops to it? There's private contractors that have been put in place through almost all of our recent conflicts we have had because of certain restraints we may put on.
I know this seems confusing. He's going to figure out what the fuck he's talking about here in a second. He's trying to find it too. So if you're wondering what he's talking about, he's getting there. He's taking the slow train.
Or certain things that we need assistance with because we just don't have the personnel to do it. But they all should be held within reasonable liability and responsibility that represents the nature that the United States represents.
I dare you. I dare one MAGA to tell me what the fuck he's talking about. Where's the people that were talking about AOC's word salad earlier? Where are all you guys? Yeah. To help you, what he's saying is they're talking about Haiti, and they're talking about like I don't know if you want to call it war, but the conflicts is happening in Haiti right now. And Chris Murphy had brought that up, and he's saying, do we want to commit troops to that? Because there's private contractors that we could commit that are committed there, and there's private contractors currently there now, like Eric Prince, used to be Blackwater, and I forget what his company's called now. But Eric Prince is actually running like military operations in coordination with the Haitians to go after. I believe it. I think it's like drug. I think it's drug gangs, but I might be wrong about that. And that's what he's saying. So if that helps clear up what he's about to talk about.
Mr. Chairman, let me just give you credit for having this hearing, right? Because this is an appropriate opportunity to talk to the administration about an issue that, we may have differences of opinion on, but are important questions of American foreign policy. So thank you for convening the hearing so we can have this discussion.
Right, absolutely. How long has Eric Prince been working in Haiti?
Senator, I'm not sure. Again, that contract is with him and the Haitian government. I don't know the answer.
Right, but it's way before this current administration.
That was a confident answer. How long has he been there? I'm not sure. Yeah, but it was way before this current administration.
Again, I can't give you a dispositive response.
The answer is since March of 2025. That's the answer. Eric Prince started working with the Haitian government in March of 2025. Donald Trump entered office in January of 2025. And if you know anything about calendars, that would have been after Trump came into office. He's got to have a staff, right? There's got to be a staff that's just like, I'm going to say that they were in place long before. Is that all right? Yeah, just fucking say it, dude. We're MAGA. Nobody's going to fact check you. It's okay. They've exclusively been there during this administration.
Mr. Holmes, who also is the CEO of Caribbean Security Group, because I know we've had this conversation. Eric Prince has been working in Haiti for how many years now?
I can't speculate. I think it's somewhere around a year.
Okay.
He's not going to catch it. What, you just going to move on?
So a question
He
that
didn't catch it. Either he knew and that's why he stumbled, but like, whoops. Fucking whoops. I can find the answer. It's publicly available information. It's been since March. They announced it. Eric Prince's group announced it. He's like, it's been about a year. Yeah, a little less than a year. Whoops.
That I do have with
Vectis Global, is that what they're called? Thank you.
For maybe both you guys, I'd like both y'all's opinion on this because I think you come from a different perspective. Which countries exert the most influence in Haiti, both positive and negative, and what role is the PRC playing in this?
All right. Who's the PRC? People's Republic of China, right? Setting this up. China's the bad guys. Who's doing the most in Haiti, and what role do they play? What role does the PRC play?
I'd like both y'all's opinion on this.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Okay, in terms
They're both confused for a reason. And they're going to explain this.
of countries that exert influence, no one compares. It's a little bit like my response on humanitarian assistance. Nobody compares in terms of influence on Haiti. No one compares to the United States. So there's
That's his witness. That's his witness right there. It's his own witness. He's just getting absolutely crushed. He's going to go back to his office and cry. This is going so bad for him. It's not even that important of a hearing. When I was watching it this morning, I was just dying laughing at how fucked they were. What, do you like China? Shut the fuck up. Your guy's stupid. I'm not defending China. Shut the fuck up. Your entire party is full of fucking dipshits. Pay attention. I don't want to pay attention to them being dumb. I'm going to accuse this host of being pro-China. Shut the fuck up and listen. Why are all the people in your party so goddamn dumb? It trickle-down dumb is what's happening to all of you. This is the only time it works. Dumb is the only thing that trickles down, and you guys got it in spades because your party is just shoving that shit down. Here's some dumb. Here's some dumb. Hey, want some more dumb? It's raining dumb. Hallelujah. And you're just like, thank you for all the dumb. It's great. Like, this is pathetically bad. Don't try and turn this into, he likes China. No, I think all MAGA Republicans in Congress are fucking stupid, and it's obvious. And right now I'm making fun of them. This isn't about China. I'm making fun of the people that you elected because they're fucking dumb. Let's continue. Says the guy in the basement. Ha! I'm the 456,000th person to use the same fucking joke. Nice, dude. Sick burn. At least I know what I'm talking about. Mark Wayne, Lee Harvey, McNuggets, McMullen here is just face planting over and over and over. And you're like, I fucking hate this guy that's pointing out that our people are dipshits.
There's a history we all know with France. There are histories with various others. They live on the same island as the Dominican Republic, so think, if you will, of conjoined twins. They do share that same geographic space, but without question, Senator, the United States has the most significant influence there.
What role is PRCA playing?
So the PRC has a commercial office that they have established in Haiti. They don't have much in the way of their signature presence.
Wait, hold on. But I know you're talking about. What about the PRC? They've got a single commercial office. They don't do much else. Fuck. God damn it.
In fact, I have seen no signature presence in terms of the things that we're so used to seeing them about worldwide.
That's his witness. His witness is just killing him. It's just absolute. He's the chairman. He set this hearing. This was so important to him that he said, let's fucking do it. I'm in charge. I get to ask the questions. I'm gonna show the American people just how bad China is. And they're like, yeah, China's not really involved, bro. They have a single office there. There's nobody that compares to the United States.
So, for instance, the construction of railroads, mines, roads, ports, these sorts of things. We do not see those underway. We are not aware that such contracts are being entertained, certainly not between them and the government.
Mr. Holmes?
Whoopsies. Look how defeated he is. He's so defeated. You know, just get that fucking camera off me.
Certainly, I'd agree that the U.S. plays a predominant role. Canada and French also are prevalent, but Taiwan has played a significant role in Haiti as well. It's important to know that I believe Haiti is one of 12.
Yeah, China's not doing shit, but there is Taiwan. Did you not know about Taiwan, sir? Lee said still contributing to Antifa and free speech. So just a reminder, yesterday Antifa membership was due. There is a $2 late charge for anybody paying their Antifa membership dues today. So keep that in mind. It goes to $4 tomorrow.
States that formally recognizes Taiwan. And so there's significant interest there for the PRC to upset that. And we know that as part of the charm offensive over the last 7 years, certainly Haiti has been targeted to that. What's also noteworthy is that there's certainly cases of Haitian politicians openly courting Chinese investment and posturing for anyone who wants to come in to act in whatever's in the best interest of Haiti, including.
Oh no! Now we got a problem. They're courting other countries to come in and do business. We're against that. Oh fuck no! That's what we're doing. That's what our president keeps talking about. And going around and using tariffs as leverage to court investment. This couldn't go worse. This could not go worse for him.
Having the relationship with Taiwan for the PRC.
So just to conclude the hearing, I think what we have taken from this most of all is, we've talked about a range of topics, but first and foremost, we got to draw in stability to be able to get the foreign aid in. And I think there's some work to be done in that. Ranking Member Schatz made a good point. Where do we need to direct the money? How do we need to do that? The size of force matters. I think, Mr. Holmes, you made a good point on the fact of how big Haiti is versus New York City, and the amount of force they have versus what Haiti is realistically supposed to secure with. So I think we do need to take a deep dive into this. And Ambassador, we'd love to work with you and figure out what we need to do. Because I think all of us can agree we want Haiti to be able to stand up on their own, and we know this isn't going to happen tomorrow. I've spent multiple trips in Haiti, spent quite a bit of time down there, invested personally into Haiti years back.
I tried to find his investment into Haiti. I don't really know what happened, but he did touch on something. He talked about like how to get aid into Haiti. Anybody catch that he said we need to do something about getting aid into Haiti? Why are we does anybody know why we're struggling to get aid into Haiti? Because we cut USAID. We let Elon Musk just cut all that. Let's talk about what happened here. This is from the Elcano Institute here. Did I not mark this up? Son of a bitch. There we go. This is the consequences of our withdrawal from USAID across the world. This is from UNICEF. UNICEF cautioned that the reduction in assistance would limit its ability to reach millions of children, and the World Food Program projected deep reductions in emergency food assistance. Mercy Corps, a global humanitarian aid organization, stated that the U.S. funding cuts would unequivocally cost lives. Secretary of State Rubio repeatedly claimed he issued waivers for life-saving assistance and that no one has died because of U.S. foreign assistance cuts. However, anecdotes have emerged that challenge this assertion. One such example is when a 5-year-old child died in the Democratic Republic of Congo when the malaria drug she needed could not be delivered, even though it was being held in a regional distribution warehouse just 7 miles away. A study jointly funded by the Spanish government estimated that an 83% reduction in USAID funding could lead to more than 14 million avoidable deaths by 2030, including 4.5 million deaths of children younger than 5 years old. But oh, thank God we gave the billionaires a tax break. Thank God. Now, why is this America's problem? I'll get to that in a minute. It's a problem because it is extremely short-sighted. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has also warned that the U.S. pullback would make the world less safe. UN peacekeeping forces will be reduced by 25%. The Trump administration canceled $800 million in peacekeeping support in fiscal year 24 and 25 and proposed eliminating funding in fiscal year 26. Here's why it matters: the erosion of U.S. influence and values. There are two ways that you can influence other countries. You can threaten them and be a bully, which is Trump's preferred method, or you can work with them, you can send aid, you can try and help their country be stable so that we wind up with less refugees or people flooding to our borders. It's a good way, like you want all around you and all around the world, you want countries to be stable. And if you can help them stabilize, it's a good return on your investment. I mean, just think of how much money we're spending right now on immigration, that a fraction of that could go to stabilize a lot of these places. The current uncertainty surrounding U.S. funding makes the partnership between the U.S. and other countries less predictable. For risk-averse nations, a Chinese funding offer that arrives quickly, without public drama and with fewer conditions, may be preferable to a U.S. commitment that could be easily reversed. The Trump administration has also stopped funding nearly all U.S. government programs promoting democracy, human rights, and press freedom worldwide. Authoritarian governments like China welcome reduced pressure, accountability, and oversight. 2 human rights organizations said the Chinese government sought to silence them after they lost U.S. funding support. So China is stepping in. And China is, one, a little less dramatic because they don't have a psychopath as their leader. And 2, they then, as they come in with aid, just like we do, we say, we're going to come in with aid, but you guys need to kind of like align with our values. And China's now coming into these same countries and saying, we'll give you aid, but you need to align with our values. And like the U.S. did, China's also going to say, we're going to put some infrastructure here. We're going to set up some trade stations here. We're going to set up military bases here. You're going to allow us a lot of access to your land. We may get access to your minerals, your oil. China now is gobbling up all of these contracts and all of this foreign aid, and that makes them more powerful. It was a huge mistake for the United States to relinquish this sort of power, especially with the stated goal of just saving money, because we're not saving any money. You could make a very compelling argument that no administration in the history of this country has ever done more to further the advancement of Russian, Chinese goals than Donald Trump. I mean, we came in talking about BRICS, like BRICS is expanding. The goal of China stepping in and building out infrastructure across Africa and across the Middle East they're expanding. South America, they're expanding. China is expanding its footprint while the United States is withdrawing. We got that one. One of the most significant consequences of the U.S. retrenchment is that it creates opportunities for China and other U.S. competitors to fill. There have been documented cases of China stepping in to fund programs when U.S. foreign assistance was paused. For example, as the U.S. has retreated from Africa, China has extended a zero tariff policy. The exact opposite of what we do, zero tariff policy on almost all exports to nearly all 54 African nations to bolster ties to the region. The head of Russia's International Assistance Agency has also spoken openly about plans to capitalize on the gap left by USAID's demise. The cuts to USAID and DFC also undermine the U.S. government's aim to compete with China's Belt and Road Initiative, which is essentially like a world-wide infrastructure project starting in China and moving west. And they have been building out infrastructure all over the place. It's a very well-known, it's a stated goal of theirs. Its global infrastructure and economic development strategy from 2013 to 2021, China invested $679 billion in international infrastructure, almost 9 times as much as the U.S. during this time period. And when they're investing money like this, that these other nations don't have, those nations become a little bit more beholden to China and they move away from us. China is gaining allegiance while we are creating enemies. Lastly, pausing or cutting contributions to the UN diminishes U.S. voting power and operational influence within the international system. This pullback from multilateral leadership reduces Washington's ability to shape global norms and standards, set agendas at key UN agencies, and secure leadership posts for U.S. personnel. China, meanwhile, holds leadership positions in key agencies, giving it more room to shape international norms on issues ranging from food security to technology. Canada wants to work with China rather than us. Canada's like, I'm out. We just somehow now China is more trustworthy than our neighbors to the south. Yeah, honestly, like you can make the argument, and I would have a hard time disagreeing with anybody who says Donald Trump is a puppet to China and Russia, because if they had their way of what the United States would do regarding foreign aid, this is exactly what they would want. They'd say, hey, pull all your foreign aid. We'll go in there. Get rid all that loyalty, all those ties you have, get rid of that. It's a very, very compelling and solid argument that Trump is working for them. You'd have to give me another reason why he's doing this. It makes more sense. Kimmy said, sorry about being late. Here's my $2 late fee. No worries. Kelly said, Antifa dues, $2 late fee included. Thank you. I appreciate you guys operating on the honor system. Asta Sophia says, have you been through voice acting or stand-up comedy? Your brain is amazing how you come up with all that thoughts. I'm hollering here. No, I just have ADHD. And my brain is, I'm always talking to myself or out loud. So I think that's how my brain operates. Move this here. That'd be fun though. I went to a stand-up comedy show a couple nights ago. Yeah, it was super, super sad actually. I was really excited to see the comedian, and I've never seen somebody bomb so hard in my life. But when they were doing it, I was like, I think I would like doing that. I don't know that I'm a good writer though. I don't really like sitting down and writing things. I'm too critical, so I probably wouldn't be very good at it. And then one more thing, because let's talk about the farmers, and let's talk about how USAID has affected our economy here, not just our international relations. This is from the international. Let's see, who is this? I don't remember who this was. USGLC. That's right. I want to get to here. So these cuts that we've made to USAID and the effects it's had on American farmers. American farmers supply roughly 40% of international food assistance, which creates a global demand for American-made crops like wheat, sorghum, and soybeans. In 2020 alone, the U.S. government purchased nearly $2 billion in food aid from American farmers. In Texas, 9 large farms provide crops for humanitarian food assistance. Since the foreign aid freeze, more than $39 million worth of food, including sorghum, corn, and yellow split peas grown by Texas farmers, has been stranded in Houston. In Virginia, 11 large-scale farms sold produce to USAID. One Virginia farmer says, we just put in the ground between $75,000 and $100,000 in seed. We put it in the ground, and I don't know if I'm going to get it back. In Minnesota, farmers grow soy, wheat, and corn for humanitarian aid funded by the U.S. government. One Minnesotan talked about how cuts to international assistance would affect his family farm, saying, we do need to export a certain amount of our crop, so it's just one more market that's taken away from us. So it does put downward pressure on the market, on the prices that we're able to receive. How does it affect American workers? In 2024, more than $1 billion of USAID funding went to small businesses in the United States. Many of these businesses will be impacted by cuts to international aid. Some examples. A Rhode Island-based company providing a life-saving paste for severely malnourished babies has halted production due to aid cuts. The founder said cuts to humanitarian aid have created unparalleled uncertainty that is spreading from her business of 150 employees to her American suppliers, farmers across 25 states, and the U.S. ocean liner she used to ship hundreds of metric tons of Adesia's Plumpy Nut Therapeutic Paste. An American-owned small business called Inclusive Development Patterns helped children with disabilities receive an education and receive 90% of its funding from the government. After the foreign aid freeze, the company is struggling to stave off bankruptcy. Cuts to humanitarian aid also hurt the suppliers responsible for delivering the aid to global recipients. For example, the majority of international food aid is shipped through the port of Houston. Ending this aid threatens the livelihood of Texans working in ports and warehouses and on U.S.-flagged ocean freighters. All this aid that Elon just cut for the fuck of it destroyed American jobs. We know what happened last year. We've seen the jobs numbers from last year. It was the worst on record since 2009. Marianne, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate you. So did that answer your question? Who was the person that said, like, why is this our responsibility? It's not our responsibility. Even if it didn't provide a lot of economic benefit to the United States, I'm still in favor of helping other countries when they need aid. But we did it. We took their food while punching ourselves in the dick. Sugar Bridge boy? What is this? Are you calling me Sugar Bridge boy? You think a lot of things, you know nothing. You actually think Harris would have been a good president. LMAO. That's so funny. Good one. You guys are a mess. Get it together. All right. Let's get to back home here to America, and let's talk about the attacks on the free press here. This is Georgia Fort this morning. After pleading not guilty, she was the other reporter with Don Lemon, who was arrested for doing their job. Ryan said for the show, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. And I appreciate Trump's tiny hands in that picture as well.
The attack on the press did not start or end with my arrest. Mario Rivera, an independent journalist covering ICE arrests in Atlanta, was held in jail for more than 100 days, then deported, despite the fact that his attorneys say he has a legal work visa to be here in America. Just a few weeks ago, all of our colleagues...
Up you must look. Do people who are responsible to distribute this money stole it and gave it to people who didn't need the money? There was some of that, very little, but that's just what they told you so that you would not look into this shit. They just tell you a lie and you're like, oh, I'll just repeat it. That's mostly not what happened.
Jana Shortle, an anchor with the NBC affiliate here in Minneapolis, was sprayed with chemical agents while covering the protest following the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy. The attack on the press did not start with my arrest. 3 journalists were attacked by St. Paul police officers during an ICE arrest in November, and even on a city level right here in St. Paul, no one has been held accountable for violating their First Amendment rights. CNN reporter Omar was arrested live on television right here in Minnesota back in 2020. And you know what? It was in that moment, while he was live on television holding a microphone that had a CNN mic flag on it, that I knew. If they'll arrest him live on television on CNN, they will arrest me, an independent journalist. And this isn't just a U.S. problem. This is a global crisis. According to Al Jazeera, more than 250 journalists and members of the media have been killed in Gaza, and most people don't even know about it. We live in a time when AI images and AI videos are shaping our world's reality, with a portion of our society living in delusion. So if you stand for truth, I need you to stand up today.
Hey, Billy, don't be fucking stupid. She wasn't charged with obstruction.
You don't have a right to partake in obstruction because you have a microphone.
Hope this helps. It doesn't help because she wasn't charged with obstruction and you don't know what words mean, and you consistently prove every single day that you're one of the dumbest motherfuckers that shows up here. But it's great to have you here, Billy. Thanks for being here and saying dumb shit every day that makes us sigh and feel bad about the American education system. Amy Lynn says, instead, it's our responsibility to bail out Argentina's farmers at $42 billion and give ours $12 billion. Argentina took over the soybean contracts American farmers lost. Argentina first, I guess. Everybody but America. It's never America first. He has done absolutely nothing for any of you, and it's crazy. Like, what a gift he has to be able to do nothing for you people, and then you're like, we love it. Kimmy said Seahawks refuse invite to the White House. That hurts. You know why that hurts? Because like I'm a Niners fan, and you know those bitches would have went to the White House. I would have had to see Christian McCaffrey and Joey Bosa and Brock Purdy all smiling with Trump. So good for you, Seahawks. Proud of you. I hate when you guys are the good guys. Drives me nuts, but proud of you, Seahawks.
Hey, what about no tax on tips and no tax on overtime? Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. That was passed through Congress. Yeah, Trump did that for sure. Did I get that? Got that. I think I said thank you to Marianne there. All right, this is in Tennessee. Shout out to the Tennessee Holler, who always has great stuff. But this is Johnny Garrett, Republican in the Tennessee state Congress. It's a congressman, and this is kind of a theme today: watching Republicans confidently say shit and then being called on their shit. Here's another thing that they're lying about, and it's always lying about like. With Mullins, it's China. It's always immigrants. It's always communists or socialists. They always create some hypothetical enemy, and then they lie about what that hypothetical enemy is doing. And it's getting old, and it's getting to the point where you don't even really have to be that up to date on the shit to know that they're lying. But here's another example.
So I heard
It's only coming out of my left earphone, so heads up there.
you say that over 50% of crime was committed by immigrants or aliens. Where do we get those stats from?
They're from our own agencies, from the own places, people that are arresting these folks and ascertaining their status. In fact, the ones from the number is probably much higher because we don't have all the reports.
That's the most Trumpian thing. This hugely inflated number that we can't figure out where it came from is actually probably higher.
Reporting from Davidson County and Shelby County. 21,648 total crimes in the state that we know of. Over 11,344 of them have been created by illegal aliens. This isn't U.S. citizens. This isn't Tennesseans. These are folks that aren't supposed to be here already.
From my understanding, there was a report from, I believe, the DAs that it was more like 11% instead of 50. That seems kind of high.
Their own attorney general, the report is actually that it's 11%.
Seems kind of exaggerated, if you will.
In 2025, Tennessee law enforcement agencies reported more than 11,000 crimes involving people they believe are not legally in the U.S. With the biggest population, Davidson County topped the list with nearly 2,500 cases. About 8 out of 10 cases involve nonviolent offenses, most commonly traffic and driving related charges, such as driving without a license. 1 out of 10 were violent crimes. Compare these numbers to the overall crime in the volunteer state. Well, FBI and state crime data says that Tennessee sees more than 500,000 crimes in a year. That means that criminal cases involving undocumented immigrants, according to the 2025 report, make up roughly 2% of all reported crime in the state.
Johnny, you just absolutely lied about those numbers, dude. It's 2%. 500,000 crimes, and 1/10 of those are violent. You liar, dude.
Shocker. Rib tip, I got a question for you. You said you had 800 hours of overtime. What is your hourly rate on overtime? So at 800 hours, how much was that in total overtime? Like, just give me a ballpark of how much money that was you got in overtime on 800 hours. We gotta stop this for rib tip. And who was it that was throating him? One of the other dummies. You still here, rib tip? I'm paying attention to you now. What's your rate on those 800 hours? $67 an hour. All right, let's do the math there. Okay. And then it was 800 hours, so 67. 800. Okay. And so you got on your taxes there, that would be $53,600. Is that right? That sound right to you? Rib tip? No, there's a little delay. Sorry about that. Does that sound right, Rib Tip? 53,600? Close, around about? Okay. And are you married? You're a joint filer, or do you file single? Some people are guessing single. Joint. Okay. Cool. So how much of that 53,600 did you not get taxed on? Of that overtime, how much of that did not were you able to not be charged taxes on? Rib Tip. Hope you're paying attention, Billy.
Rib Tip said something I like, and so I agreed with him that the host is lying.
What was it, Rib Tip? How much of that did you not have to pay taxes on? It was around 2K back. No. What? No. How much of that 53,000, because it's no tax on overtime, right? So that overtime pay where you made $53,600, how much of that $53,600 did you not have to pay taxes on? This feels like we might have caught you in a lie, bud. Doesn't seem like you know what you're talking about here. Are we there? Rib Tip, how much did you not have to pay taxes on? What would I know? I don't work? Thank you. Well, I can read. If you can read, you know the answer to this question. Where's Rib Tip? You Googling, dog? Did you run away, bud? Yeah, he's lying. He's lying. The most he could have written off there was 25,000 of it. Less than half is what he wouldn't have paid tax on. He's lying to you. So I'm going to guess that one, he didn't have that much in overtime. But secondly, he's lying. So Billy Talent, I need you to admit that I was right and he was wrong. Otherwise, we got to mute you for a while, Billy. You're here every day. You know better than this. So chat mods, will you just watch for Billy? And if Billy has to say RTP was right, Rib Tip was wrong, and if he doesn't say that, he gets a 5-minute mute. We're gonna gentle parent you guys into getting correct answers. And Rib Tip, next time you show up and lie about stuff, like have your facts right. Then it won't be so embarrassing for you. All right, I want to go here. This is I'm trying to remember who this was.
Someone from California, Mr. Correa.
Mr. Correa here from California. And we're talking to ICE here, to Todd Lyons. I believe it's Todd Lyons here. Yeah. What'd Jen say? John said, fucking YouTube keeps kicking me off. What the fuck? Anybody else? I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Jen, we're gonna end at like 2, so about an hour and a half left. Just a reminder, guys, we are crowdfunded, and Rib Tip, you can use some of that overtime if you want, since we stopped the show for you. Anything you can do to help us knock out that gift goal by the end of the live would be greatly, greatly appreciated. That's how we keep the lights on here. That's how I keep Jen coming back every day. And if you can help, great. If not, enjoy the show.
5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to welcome our witnesses today. Gentlemen, wanted to start out by talking a little bit about my district, Southern California, Disneyland. Southern California is the center of manufacturing for the United States. California, biggest ag state in the Union. California, also, big donor, taxpayer dollars to the United States. President Trump got elected on the promise to deport the worst of the worst. Your numbers, Mr. Lyons, less than 14% of those arrested by ICE first year, 2025, had charges or convictions of violence. 70% of those deported had not even a traffic ticket. Mr. Lyons, I think we're all patriots, but I'm trying to figure out how, this is a question to you, sir, how deporting a nanny make...
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Thanks, Jen. I'll explain why I'm right here. How much, let's see, let me just go back to my history. Rib tip, I'll explain this to you. You should have known this, but you can see here. The no tax on overtime provision of the One Big Beautiful Bill allows eligible taxpayers to deduct up to $12,500 or $25,000 for joint filers of qualified overtime pay from federal income taxes for tax years 2025 through 2028. So the most that you could deduct, which is the no tax on overtime, would have been $25,000 because you filed jointly. So your $53,600, you actually still paid, what's that, $28,600? You still got taxed on that. So only $25,000 of that is tax free. That's how I knew you were lying from the start, because there's a cap. If you're single, it's $12,500. If you're joint filers, it's $25,000. And I believe if your spouse isn't working, I don't think you get that. I don't know the stipulations there. So I just assumed $25,000. But there may be, it may still be $12,500. I don't know how that's all worded, but that's how I knew that you were lying. So enjoy, and the entire audience know that you were lying.
Makes our nation safer, stronger. How trying to deport the father of 3 Marines make this country stronger? How deporting the parents of a number of Marines at Camp Pendleton makes this nation stronger?
Sir, thank you for your welcome, first off. Just to address your the numbers with the 14%, sir, that's 14% that are listed as violent criminal felonies. However, what's left out of that is the fact that what's left off that list...
Those 70% that don't have a traffic ticket and deported, how has that made our nation stronger?
Sir, if you look at what ICE has done, more than 60% of every individual that is in ICE custody has a pending or a conviction on a criminal charge. Not to count...
Sir, let me move ahead. I only have 3 minutes.
Why can't they ever answer that question? The question was, how did that make us safer? Is it making us better? Does anybody think we're better off for what's going on here? And if you do think we're better off because of these deportation orders and the effects the ICE has had on local communities, could you explain to me what the benefit is? Outside of, like, you just don't want these people here? Could you explain in any way what the benefit is?
And we'll talk later. Let's talk about American citizens. Again, back home. Young people asking me, what do I have to carry with me so I won't be deported? Is, Mr. Lyons, carrying a passport, is that enough so they won't be detained or deported in my district?
Sir, an American citizen shouldn't carry or shouldn't feel the need to carry.
Let me tell you what some of your ICE agents have done. They pulled over a gentleman in a pickup truck, showed his passport, they threw it to the side, detained him. What do we have to do to show that we're American citizens?
Sir, no American citizen falls under Title VIII. No American citizen will be arrested for being an American citizen.
But you just said to my colleague that nobody has been fired because of violations of the law for disciplinary actions, yet this is happening in my district. Mr. Lyons, we're a very boring district. We work hard, mind our own business. ICE in our streets now. People are terrorized. American citizens. Number of cases of Americans being detained, being taken in, some being held for 5 days. Sir, what do we do with those people in that situation? What do we tell them?
Sir, I don't know of any particular case that you're speaking of American citizen being held.
I'm more than happy to provide you a list, sir.
100%, sir.
So let me ask
how in the world is he not aware? How are we all aware, but he's not aware? Isn't that his job to be aware? That's crazy. Somebody said earlier, sorry I didn't catch it earlier, but when it came to the no tax on overtime, explained that you just did your taxes. And so if it's like, if your overtime pay is $30, your normal pay is $20, then what you don't get taxed on is that additional $10. I wasn't aware of that.
Yes, sir. Are you surveilling U.S. citizens today?
No, sir.
Those people
That's a lie.
protesting, practicing this First Amendment right, photos of them, data taken, they're not being placed in any kind of a database?
There is no database for protesters, sir.
One of your officers in Maine said to one of the individuals protesting, we're going to put your face in a little database. What does that mean? Do you have a little database of Americans?
No, sir, we don't.
Then what do you think your ICE agent was doing to this individual when he said those statements?
I can't speak for that individual, sir, but I can assure you there is no database that's tracking United States citizens.
Sir, California, we're a sanctuary
I'll get to that in a second. We're going to come back to that. I've got a video for that here in a second.
state. Does that cause you a problem picking up individuals?
Yes, sir.
I have with me today some data from Sheriff Barnes, Orange County Sheriff. Very good friend. He's been here to testify numerous times. For 2025, he referred about 300 individuals for your office to pick up. 250 were picked up, 50 were never picked up. We had a long conversation saying, what is going on? If these are the worst of the worst, you've called ICE to pick them up and you didn't pick them up. Can you explain to us why you didn't pick up all these individuals that were referred to your office to pick up?
Yes, sir. That's the key part of that is the referral. We make sure that those individuals are eligible to be placed in detention and for movability. So
you
in that
never
case,
even looked at those individuals.
Gentlemen's time.
I would like to talk to you about this issue later on, Mr. Lyons. Thank you very
time
much.
is expired.
There we go. All right, let's get to that database. But first, Amber said also it's a deduction, not a write-off, so it lowers your adjusted gross income, therefore lowering your tax liability. Leanne said, I read somewhere Don Jr. and Eric are going to try and buy the Seahawks. I'm scared. I'd be nervous if I was the NFL, allowing them to even bid, because the way that they've made their money, if Republicans are out of office, they're going to be investigated. These are like, they're committing crimes. I would be shocked if the Trumps were able to buy an NFL franchise. I don't think they would allow. I mean, they wouldn't let their dad. The NFL's been telling Donald Trump no forever, long before it was political. They've always hated that guy, and they never trusted him. I can't imagine they give their kids an NFL franchise. But here's what we're talking about. Like, ICE absolutely is spying on Americans. They absolutely
These days it seems like not enough.
Database, and they use a what's it called here? They use a program called. Now, does anybody remember the name of the program? Why is that not off the top of my head anymore? Anyways, I'll explain it here. Here's Wired Magazine to explain.
Hour goes by without another brutal arrest by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. You've probably seen the aggressive tactics in videos online. While many people find these videos really disturbing, others question
It's not Palantir.
why this matters to them at all. If they're not here in the US illegally, do they really have to care? Isn't this just law enforcement in action? Today, we're going to be breaking down how ICE's expansion of power will impact everybody in the US. This is Incognito Mode. Government surveils a lot of people. In fact, if you're posting online, they're probably surveilling you right now. The State Department has expanded its use of social media surveillance to monitor anybody who wants to enter the US. But even if you're not a traveler here, you're probably being surveilled. The Independent reports that ICE is expanding its use of social media surveillance to search for anti-ICE sentiment. So if you're going to a protest or posting about ICE online in ways that they might not like, you're probably getting scooped up into a surveillance machine you might not even know exists.
Sounds like the exact opposite of what they just testified to. Amy Lynn said there's a movement for the Seahawks to become owned by the residents, similar to the Packers. That'd be cool.
It's been reported that one social media surveillance tool used by government agencies, including ICE, is SocialNet, which can reportedly monitor up to 200 websites, social media platforms, and other online spaces. Some of these platforms include Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky.
That's a good point. We've been doing stuff like this ever since the Patriot Act. That's a good point.
TikTok, Reddit, PayPal, OnlyFans, Cash App, WhatsApp, Telegram.
But remember that, like, it's funny that we criticize the Patriot Act, which is fair. We should criticize the Patriot Act, but that was just the government taking advantage of 9/11 to force a police state on us, and that's what ICE is too. ICE was also born from 9/11, and it also was an overstep that Americans were comfortable with because we were afraid of terrorists at the time, and so we kind of just threw our freedoms away with the Patriot Act and with the installation of ICE. And now ICE, which was supposed to just go after terrorists, is just going after anybody here who's undocumented. You can't be like, oh, I hate the Patriot Act, but I love ICE. It's all born out of the same thing. It's all government overreach. It's all police state shit that they took the actions on 9/11 and said, we're gonna exert some control here.
Discord, chess.com for some reason. Pretty much anywhere you are online, SocialNet is probably watching. It's been reported that ICE's Homeland Security Investigations Division has directly contracted with Shadow Dragon, which makes SocialNet. The problem with social media surveillance is that, by its very nature, it's a massive dragnet operation. They're collecting data on basically everyone, especially anyone who's posting online all the time. This massive amount of data that's being collected doesn't just go away. All this data is likely being stored and can potentially be used at any point in the future to target you for anything. So right now, these tools are being used to target one kind of speech, but in the future...
That's fair. Yeah, it's a both party thing. This isn't like a Republican or Democrat thing. This is an American thing. We chose and we allowed our elected representatives to establish ICE and to establish the Patriot Act, and we continued to fund them over and over again. Because like most of us, we want to believe in our government. I really do think that that's what happens. Like we always think like, oh, not our government. We won't do that. We won't turn into a police state. Oh, we could never be authoritarian. We would never have a president who like just blatantly ignores the Constitution. And then when we get into a situation where they are blatantly ignoring the Constitution, then the partisan politics shows up. Then it's like, you never say this about the other side, and then we don't ever actually get to have the argument because by default, whichever party's in charge, in this case, it's the Republicans. So now that the Republicans are in charge, and ICE is obviously not acting how they were intended to act, and obviously it's a police state, and they're masked and they're arresting people. None of them are terrorists. Virtually none of them are terrorists. The Republicans now are defending it. Why? Because that's what we do in this country. We support our team. So all of you guys that are like defending ICE right now, you are defending a police state. And it may be the case. Like if Democrats if Democrats were in charge and they were doing this, I think it would absolutely be the case that the majority of Democrats would also be defending this on some level. I don't see a scenario where the Democrats would do that because it's not part of their ideology. But let's just say if it was reversed, I do think that there's a lot of Democrats who just show up and they toe the party line. But that's exactly what you guys are doing too. So if you find yourself defending ICE or defending the Patriot Act or defending a police state, the human inside of me and my desire to see the best in everybody, the best that I can give you as an olive branch is you don't really know what's going on. You're playing team sports, so you justify this because it's your team.
Sure, an administration could choose to use it to target something entirely different. A big problem with social media surveillance is that it can chill speech. You might not post about things online if you know that ICE agents or other law enforcement are flagging your speech just because you said a certain keyword or expressed a certain sentiment. That's going to dissuade people from exercising their First Amendment rights, going to protests, or speaking out against things they disagree with.
I'm annoyed with MAGA today. 5-minute mute for anybody who brings up trans people at all. 5-minute mute, automatically. You got to stay on topic.
One of the first ways you might think of ICE impacting you is surveillance. Facial recognition is one of the ways we know that ICE is targeting pretty much anybody they come across who they find suspicious. Immigration officials have long used facial recognition at the border, but now agents can use it right on their phones. Using an app called Mobile Fortify, they can just point their camera at you and run your face through.
That's what I was looking for, actually. Mobile Fortify is the name I was looking for. We covered this once before. We showed that 404 Media investigation, but Mobile Fortify was what I was looking for.
Bunch of different databases that does identity verification on the fly. So why is this a problem? Well, first of all, Mobile Fortify, like other facial recognition systems, has a margin of error. That means it can bring up false positives.
Thanks, Matt. Matt says anti-maggot.
So the app might identify you as being somebody who you're not, and maybe that person is a hardened criminal who's in the US illegally, and you might get detained. The other issue is what we call surveillance creep. This means that powerful surveillance tools are being used in more and more ways and is becoming normalized. It might be ICE agents using it today, but you can imagine a situation where a police officer is standing on a corner and just pointing his phone at everybody, trying to catch a criminal. Now, you might think this kind of surveillance isn't a big deal, and you might think, hey, if cops are catching more criminals, that's great. The problem is that once a surveillance power is introduced, it's very rare that it gets taken away. While you might agree...
it's good to see the Republicans here.
You're on a website that tracks your information, so just be like us, bend over and get fucked in the ass. Don't address it. If you're on a website where your information is being taken, then you have to shut the fuck up and be a cuck like the rest of us. You can't complain about it. Or, like, don't be a bitch. That's another option for some of you.
with the law enforcement actions of one administration, another administration might have totally different priorities and totally different targets. As we see in all types of situations, technology moves faster than laws. As of now, there's no federal law regulating the use of facial recognition by ICE or any other law enforcement agency. ICE's use of data brokers is another form of digital surveillance. ICE isn't just buying data one-off. They also have contracts with data brokers like LexisNexis, which gives thousands of agents access to all types of data about anyone they're targeting. This
now, again, like this is the dirty workaround that we've talked about, is that these companies that collect like public data, and they've lobbied the government forever saying that they're allowed to collect this kind of information so that they can sell advertising. And there's a rule, like the government can't collect this type of information, but what they have created is this little go-between through LexisNexis, right? So the government says, we're not going to collect this data, but we are going to buy access to this data through LexisNexis. So we didn't commit a crime since we aren't the ones who collected this data. And that's how the police state has been formed. And the police state has been formed by rich people that own these companies. And these people that own these companies then work with the government, and they get these contracts with the government. And then they have all this information to become extremely valuable to the government. And that's how you wind up with Palantir and LexisNexis and the companies that they're talking about here. They're in bed with the government, and they scratch each other's backs, and they get rich, and the government gets to control whatever the fuck they want. It's a great deal. Just not for you.
Means they know who you are, who you know, who your family members are, what your criminal history is, whether you own a boat or a car. All this information is readily available to ICE for anyone who they want to target. ICE is making use of something called the data broker loophole, which allows the agency to just buy data that they might otherwise have to obtain through a subpoena or a warrant. ICE has reportedly used the data broker loophole.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Get around Colorado's sanctuary cities laws, which prevent local police from sharing information with the agency. ICE was able to just buy data on targets rather than getting it through a process that involves judicial review. ICE has a program known as 287G, which allows it to deputize local and state police to help in deportation actions. Under 287G, ICE has agreements with some 800 departments across 40 states, with dozens more pending. This is all part of the agency's efforts to rapidly increase enforcement actions.
We're not asking them to be immigration officers. We're asking them to help us. Cops working with the cops to keep New York safe.
Named Operation Tidal Wave, ICE's expansion of 287G means a massive amount of resources across the country are being devoted just towards...
I don't know about that. I think you're right. LexisNexis was the case law database. I'm pretty sure. I think I heard about them when there was something that they had to do with Anthropic, and Anthropic was using LexisNexis, and LexisNexis is suing them. I might be mixing up if it was Anthropic.
Issues of immigration and deportation. Even if you think immigration is the most pressing issue, getting local law enforcement involved can have consequences beyond what you might expect. First of all, local police need to have a relationship with their community so that people can trust them when they call to report a crime. If your family has mixed immigration status, or even if you just look a certain way, you may be more unlikely to call the police and report a crime, and that makes everybody less safe. Another issue is that local police have limited budgets. This inevitably means that resources are going to be diverted from other things like investigating thefts or murders or child abductions, with resources from the federal government to your local police being diverted towards immigration.
LexisNexis is a case law database and background check software for lawyers. Thank you, Adam. And by the way, Adam, you said earlier, why are you blocked? You're not blocked. I see you. I don't know what happened.
Issues. All types of other things are going to go ignored or underfunded. As ICE's power is expanding, it's sweeping up even more people into its crosshairs, not just immigrants. For example, in July 2025, Wired reported on a bulletin from the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees ICE. The memo characterized regular activities like riding a skateboard or a bicycle as running reconnaissance for protesters and indicative of potential violence. We've also...
That's the most ICE thing I've seen so far. They just like, anybody moves and they're like, that is an aggressive movement. They are the softest bunch of little bitches. If you don't stand perfectly still, ICE freaks the fuck out.
Seen ICE agents arrest U.S. citizens who were nearby while they were conducting raids and arrests. According to Wired reporting, protesters are subject to all types of social media surveillance, with law enforcement building dossiers.
You want an opposing, Tim, you want an opposing view to this? What opposing view do you have to this? What's your opposition to this video? What would be the opposing view here? Nuh-uh. You want me to just get a video of the government going, we don't do this?
Why don't we play a video of the government promising that they won't look into your data? Why don't you see if we can get Tom Homan up there to be like, we don't do that. We would never do that. We're the United States government.
I don't know what opposition you want here. I mean, they just showed Tom Homan there. They're showing the opposition response to this.
On them that can include their names, their affiliations, and the things they say online. This is a perfect example of how these tools can be turned against anyone an administration deems problematic. Founded in 2003 in the wake of 9/11 under the task of increasing national security, ICE has since become one of the most dominant law enforcement agencies in the United States and is poised to reach its apex under the second Trump administration, which has promised—
Didn't even exist before 9/11, and now it's the biggest. And they were just supposed to go after terrorists, but now it's the biggest law enforcement agency, like by funding, I think.
Mass deportations on a historic scale.
We're going to have a deportation.
As a legal immigrant to America, I support ICE. Well, fuck you. How about that? Fuck you if you think that masked men going around and arresting people who are just simply working, detaining American citizens, killing American citizens. If you support them, thanks for coming to our country, and you're welcome to stay, obviously, because you're here legally. But like all Americans who support ICE, get fucked. Get all the way fucked. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Level that we haven't seen in this country for a long time, since Dwight Eisenhower, actually.
Even though news of ICE arrests and detentions are happening all the time, it's about to get even bigger. Congress recently allocated some $170 billion towards immigration enforcement, making it more heavily funded than any other law enforcement agency in the United States, including the FBI and the DEA. While the Trump administration has framed ICE's actions as removing criminals from our communities, 65% of people targeted by ICE have no criminal convictions, and 93% have no violent convictions. What this looks—
yeah, the people that where was that legal immigrant over there? ICE was supposed to chase down terrorists. 65% have no convictions, 93% have no violent convictions. Almost none of them are terrorists. I just like police states, honestly. That's why I came to America. I don't like going anywhere if the government can't watch me.
And 93% have no violent convictions. What this looks like on the ground is masked, unidentified ICE—
Oh, those poor masked men that are getting the docks by those protesters and giving the death threats, or those poor masked men.
Toughen up. Don't join ICE. Don't join a shitty organization like ICE. Yeah. You know who that doesn't happen to? Fucking every other law enforcement agency. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's because the Wibs just don't like them, because the Wibs want to wet everybody in illegally.
No, it's because of the way that they act. Take some accountability. Maybe if they didn't act like fucking psychopaths, maybe if they weren't the modern day Gestapo, people wouldn't be upset.
Agents storming into restaurants and other businesses and snatching people off the street, even if they've never been involved in any crime at all. Agents are even arresting people at courthouses when they show up for their immigration court appointments. Even green card holders have been targeted. So it's not just undocumented criminal immigrants who are being targeted. It's pretty much anybody who has a vulnerable immigration status. On paper, ICE's detention rate has soared to 140% of the capacity of detention centers. This has led to massive overcrowding, unsanitary conditions, lack of medical care, and other issues within detention centers. And it's only poised to get worse.
We are looking to set...
Try going to Mexico illegally and see what happens. You know what wouldn't happen in Mexico? A roving gang of masked agents wouldn't show up and kidnap you and throw you in a car. They would just arrest you like a normal human.
A goal of a minimum of 3,000 arrests for ICE every day, and President Trump is going to keep pushing to get that number up higher.
In June, ICE agents arrested an average of 1,200 people a day. That's nearly twice as many as during the first 100 days of the second Trump administration. There's very little anyone can do to push back against ICE's enforcement actions, but some people are trying. Apps like IceBlock allow people to identify ICE agents, where they are, what they look like, and even what their vehicles are. But even that can come with consequences. The Trump administration has threatened the developer of IceBlock with prosecution, and people have criticized the app for endangering ICE agents. The Trump administration has also equated revealing ICE agents' identities as illegal doxing. We should just note that making an app like IceBlock or publishing an ICE agent's personal information is, according to legal experts, protected by the First Amendment. The disappearance of hundreds of thousands or even millions of people.
That's every law enforcement in Mexico covers their faces. They have to. No, I'm down there all the time. That's not true. You're just making that up.
Is going to change American life, regardless of your views on immigration. This can happen in small ways, from people you know suddenly vanishing, and big ways to having fewer people in the American economy and thus making it shrink. No matter who you are and no matter what you think about immigration or ICE's tactics or the second Trump administration, mass deportations are going to have an impact on your life. This has been Incognito Mode. Until next time.
But once again, like, it's just MAGA missing the point. Like, this entire video is about how they're using ICE and ICE's access to get all of your data and be able to surveil you. And you're like, well, they have to because the immigrants. You're just like throwing away your rights because you're mad at people who are here illegally. Okay. That's a weird thing to do.
I don't really care if I have rights and privacy as long as people who are here illegally get deported.
That's a weird stance to take, isn't it? Don't you think that's weird that you forfeit your rights just because there's people here that you don't want here? You guys are also J6. You're the dumb. You're the second dumbest motherfucker. Billy's definitely number one. Like, what a fuck? No, you wouldn't let rapists and murderers stay to protect information. You would tell the government that they can't collect our information. We would write laws that the government can't collect our information and that they should still prosecute rapists and murderers. This is why you wind up as such a cucky fucking little bitch. Because every time something is pointed out that's wrong, you go, oh, well, would you rather? Don't play would you rather. Just if something's wrong, say, I don't like that, and stand against that thing. You don't have to play would you rather for every fucking thing that happens. Just find a backbone. It's such a bizarre way that you guys argue. All right. About an hour left. Just a reminder, we can knock out that gift goal with a dollar train pretty simply. 1 hour remaining. You know the ways to help out. Vessel said, I remember being mad about marked cop cars looking like undercovers. I never saw this police state coming. I definitely didn't either, but looking back, we all should have seen it coming. Like, there were a lot of people warning us. I like probably many of you, were just like, our government won't do that, and here we are. This is fucking terrifying. This is a striker bill that's going to be heard in the Arizona Senate. Is it tomorrow? I think tomorrow. A striker bill basically is just a bill where they strike out everything. When you're outside of when you can introduce bills, you basically strike it out and then you submit it. But it's like a little loophole so that you can submit bills outside of the allotted time. This is what they're advocating for the Republicans in Arizona now. Purpose: this requires a county recorder and county board of supervisors to enter into a written agreement with federal immigration law enforcement personnel to provide for the presence of such law enforcement personnel at all locations in Arizona in which voting is conducted or ballots are deposited for the 2026 general election. Statute prohibits engaging in electioneering within 70 feet of a polling place while the polls are open. Electioneering occurs when an individual knowingly or intentionally attempts to induce or compel another person. That's not that important, but this part is very important because that's just their laws that are in place now. But we're going to put ICE at all the polling locations. Requires each county recorders in each county BOS, notwithstanding any other law, and for the general election, only for the 2026 general election, by the way, to enter into a written agreement with a federal immigration law enforcement agency to provide for a federal immigration law enforcement presence at each location in Arizona where ballots are cast or deposited. So imagine that you are somebody that's here and you are here legally, but perhaps you don't have the documentation handy. Perhaps you've lost a passport. Perhaps you've lost your green card. Perhaps you've lost your naturalization. I mean, I guess probably not a green card, but perhaps you've lost your naturalization documentation. Maybe you just lost your wallet. And all you want to do is you just want to go down and drop off your ballot. You just want to go vote. Well, now you can't do that because you have ICE there. And what if you do just want to go, but ICE rejects it? Can't they just detain people? We already know that like people get arrested and detained all the time that have ID on them, and ICE just rejects it. Republicans, why do you want to force this? I mean, I think the last audit they did in Arizona, it was like an 8-year audit. There was like less than 10 people who were undocumented that registered to vote, and none of them voted. This is legitimately not a problem. This is just a way to scare Hispanic people away from voting in Arizona. This legitimately is not a problem. Everyone wear ski masks. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Well, that's the thing. Like you say, you have a voter registration card that should prove, but ICE isn't like ICE can do their normal enforcement, so they're just going to act like ICE agents. Pretty cool country we live in, right? Republicans, you're just advocating for the police state. I have some faith that this will be struck down in the Arizona legislature tomorrow, but not a ton of faith. I think it's like 60-40. Trump now is back to sharing election misinformation. We're just fucking doing the hits now. He's going on Truth Social yesterday to just, like, if you notice that Donald Trump didn't say this for a long time, it's because Donald Trump couldn't say this for a long time because Dominion would sue the fuck out of him. But now his friend owns Dominion and renamed it, and so he's back to lying. Retruth this. In the 2020 election, states using Dominion voting machines allegedly switched 435,000 votes from Trump to Biden and deleted 2.7 million Trump votes, including 1 million in Pennsylvania alone. Examinations showed Dominion and ES&S machines wirelessly connected to the internet via Telet 3G and 4G modems with ties to China and the CCP. This is wrong. They were mostly Verizon and AT&T. But there is a wireless modem that transmits the totals. That is true. The mainstream media, Dominion, ES&S, and many Democrats lied about voting machines having no internet access. That's true. People did lie about that. ES&S, including Republicans. ES&S uses over 14,000 modems across the country alone, with 35 still found transmitting signals in 11 states post-election. These machines are compromised and were designed to steal elections, not have fair ones. No evidence of that. None whatsoever. But this is a lie. You can go in Pennsylvania. Republicans and Democrats agree. They audited the Pennsylvania election. None of this stuff happened. It's been litigated. They've never been able to provide any proof for this. But they're just going to keep saying it. In fact, Trump then shared this old OAN report that, again, I guess they feel safe posting this because Dominion doesn't exist anymore. But here's this old OAN report from, I don't remember when this was originally. I think it was sometime in 2021.
According to an unaudited analysis of data obtained from Edison Research.
Okay. Let's hear that again. As a news organization, listen to their source.
According to an unaudited analysis of data obtained from Edison Research.
An unaudited collection of data from Edison Research. That's what they started the news story with. They're just saying like this, entirely unconfirmed.
States using Dominion voting systems may have switched as many as 435,000 votes from President Trump to Joe Biden. And the author also finds another 2.7 million Trump votes appear to have been deleted by Dominion, including almost 1 million Trump votes in Pennsylvania alone.
All right. And of course, the Edison, who again they're citing here.
According to an unaudited analysis of data obtained from Edison Research.
The CEO of Edison Research said this. You can check this many places. The OANN report referred to an unaudited analysis of data obtained from an election monitoring group called Edison Research. However, the company president, Larry Rosen, said Edison Research has produced no such report, and we have no evidence of any voter fraud. They just made it up. They just make shit up and say it.
Is anyone surprised Democrats cheated?
They didn't. You're dumb. You don't have evidence. Why don't you guys have evidence of any of this? What is Edison Research? I think they do mostly polling. I want to talk about the plans, though, for the upcoming elections, and there's some alarming stuff happening now. This is from January of this year. Election officials all across the country say that their trust with CISA is broken. CISA is cybersecurity. Their job is when it comes to elections, is to monitor for any foreign adversaries, any sort of hacks into our election systems. And Trump has dismantled that for whatever reason. This administration, who is obsessed with election integrity, is dismantling the department that would actually make sure our elections are secure from cyber attacks. Here we have it. Weeks into Trump's second term, NASS warned his Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, that the Federal Election Security Partnership, built since 2017, which is from the original Trump administration, was unraveling and highlighting the role played by federal support from the EISAC, which the group said helps election officials defend against sophisticated cyber threat actors, including nation-state and cyber criminal groups. You have to remember, like, state elections are run a lot by volunteers. And some of these people have, decades of experience, but these are not like high-tech people. These are not people that are going in and able to recognize a cyber attack or recognize like nefarious actors. ISACs are voluntarily information-sharing groups within each area designated as critical infrastructure that are meant to help organizations spot and respond to security threats. The elections version was created after the 2017 designation and is run by the nonprofit Center for Internet Security to support election officials specifically, while the multi-state ISAC, also managed by the group, serves state and local governments more broadly. Weeks after NASS's letter, CISA halted roughly $10 million in annual funding for the two information-sharing groups, citing a need to focus on mission-critical areas. Isn't this the mission-critical area? Don't you want safe and secure elections? Why are we pulling funding? State officials and vendors warned the move would weaken information sharing on threats and slow coordinated responses to cyber and physical threats. Election technology companies have since begun pulling back from sharing sensitive information with CISA. They don't trust the government. VoteBeat spoke to 3 technology companies that confirmed this, though none would speak publicly for fear of reprisal. Some feared data on vulnerabilities could be exposed or used against them in a more politicized environment, concerns that echo but invert those raised in 2017. If you share information you don't know it's going to stay confidential, Crane said, why would a vendor ever share a vulnerability? They don't trust our government anymore. It's not good. Gabrielle Sterling, the former chief operating officer of Georgia's Secretary of State office and now a Republican candidate for the job, said he has long been skeptical of CISA, particularly its approach to disclosing vulnerabilities. Even so, Sterling draws a sharp distinction between the current moment and the Krebs-Masterson area. That's Trump's first administration. They focused on what they could do well and how they could make systems more resilient. Now, I have no idea what the goal is. This is a Republican in Georgia who Trump is worried about, saying, I have no idea what their goal is. I don't think anyone understands the mission. I don't think they even understand the mission. The uncertainty has been compounded by a leadership vacuum at CISA. Nearly a year into Trump's second term, the agency still lacks a Senate-confirmed director after the nomination of Sean Planky, a longtime security official who has worked at the Department of Energy and National Security Council, stalled amid bipartisan objections. Trump then renominated Planky. Trump has continued to attack the agency's past work. He's repeatedly attacked Krebs, the former director, for defending the integrity of the 2020 election, which Trump falsely claims to have won. In early 2025, Trump ordered an investigation into Krebs and the security firm he now owns, apparent retribution for Krebs' statement that the 2020 election was the most secure in history. How'd that go? They found no criminal wrongdoing with Krebs. None of these investigations ever go anywhere because Trump lost. And he's desperate to prove that he won. And every time they try and prove that he won, he loses. He has lost every single case. Oh, TikTok gone? Get fucked, TikTok. Heaven forbid, TikTok. This has unfolded along a broader shift in how the second Trump administration is approaching elections, said Merrill, who left office in 2022. Justice Department efforts to require states to send full, unredacted voter lists to the federal government, something many states have now done, are, she said, a warning sign that the federal involvement in how states run elections could expand far beyond technical support. And we know that with recent executive orders from Trump, that is exactly what they're planning to do, is seize control. I don't know how you would ever go back to the federal government just helping states with security, which is obviously a very positive thing to do, she said. Again, a Republican. The November 2025 elections offered an early glimpse of what this new landscape looks like. For the first time in years, CISA did not stand up its Election Day Situation Room, a centralized hub for monitoring and communicating about threats nationwide. In December, Gene Dorado, departing Comptroller General of the U.S. Government Accountability Office, warned senators that federal cybersecurity efforts were not receiving enough attention given the potential threat. He expressed concern that CISA can't provide the assistance state and local election officials had come to expect heading into the midterms. So they create this apparatus, right, where the states don't really necessarily invest in cybersecurity because there's a federal apparatus full of experts who are monitoring foreign actors and potential holes in our election system, and they're working with the states. And then out of nowhere, Trump just pulls this funding and crashes it. Now, for anybody who believes that Russia interfered in the 2016 election, which is everybody who's not in a fucking cult, you would want your cybersecurity team to not notice that, to not bring it up. If Russia perhaps was going to hack in, or if Elon Musk perhaps was going to create an app and hook that to a thumb drive in these election machines and know the outcome of an election 4 hours before anybody else did, you probably wouldn't want cyber to be able to catch that, right? You would want to just look the other way. That appears to be what they're doing here. Paul Lux, chair of EI-ISAC and the supervisor of elections in Okaloosa County, Florida, told VoteBeat that a now membership-based EI-ISAC run by the nonprofit Center for Internet Security is working to rebuild communication infrastructure and hopes to make arrangements with smaller jurisdictions that cannot afford the fees. Our government abandoned our cybersecurity, and now we have to have nonprofits step in to try and keep our elections secure. It plans to restart the Situation Room for this year's primaries using private vendors, making sure all the nuts and bolts are tightened. Some cooperation with the federal government will likely persist, albeit in narrower forms. Ryan Macias, an elections security expert who has been also contracted for CISA, said that if CISA were to again offer direct services, states could engage selectively, allowing isolated cyber scans or physical security assessments without broadly sharing sensitive vulnerabilities, which would be more like what other critical infrastructure sectors currently do. Many jurisdictions, he noted, also benefited from years of basic cybersecurity hygiene training and can carry that forward on their own. In Georgia, for example, Sterling said, much of the state's scanning and assessment work flows through the Georgia Emergency Management Agency rather than CISA. Lux said he believes the federal government's needed and that another federal agency, one with more independent leadership body like the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, which has bipartisan set of commissioners nominated by congressional leadership, might have more success. They're sounding the alarm. Fortunately, I think for Democrats and for a lot of us, these, at least in the House, it looks like it's almost a foregone conclusion that Democrats will win the House, and it's looking pretty good in the Senate now as well, which is kind of shocking. Alex said, I used to believe that you are what you eat until I saw all ICE members being such pussies. Leslie said, is this a confession? A little bit. And lost you on TikTok. Sorry about that, Leslie. R.I.P. TikTok. Check there. Let me check with Jen real fast. Got that. Those inferior racist white guys are so screwed. Non-white babies just went over 50% sooner than expected, and the highest number is Latin American babies. They are too late. Kim said my monthly Antifa dues. Pink, thank you very much. Joseph said the words "we got them all out" will never be said, or the words "we got them all out" will never be said. Police state forever. Feels like it. Really, really fucking feels like it. All right, about 40 more minutes. Thank you guys for contributing to that goal. Looks like we're going to be able to knock that out by the end. And I appreciate all who have donated so far. All right. Then this was this week. More people, I believe, or no, excuse. Right. Oh man, I didn't get the right link. Okay, I'll skip that. I found this video, and I do think here's a call to action that all of us can probably do. This is not the real Johnny Bananas sounding the alarm. And the reason I'm showing this is just so that you can share it. What I've covered so far and what we'll cover here in a little bit is more in depth. But if you just want to explain this to your friends briefly, I highly recommend just take this video and share it. We'll drop it in the Discord. But if you're not in the Discord, just look up at not the real Johnny Bananas and you can find this video yourself.
Okay, so we need to talk about something really quick. This is something everybody is going to need to participate in because unfortunately it's a big ask, but it's important. I've heard people talking recently about Executive Order 14248, which Trump signed last year. It sets a lot of new rules and precedents for how contests are conducted. But it says that states have to be in compliance with their contest machines, otherwise they will not receive funding for said contests. And of course, the people that are instantly considered in compliance with this is Liberty. Liberty was formerly Dominion, and they were purchased by a MAGA Trump humper. So now people are going to be encouraged to use Liberty. Some people are saying that any state that is not in compliance or using Liberty, their contest is going to be deemed illegitimate. It just means that they will be drastically reduced in their funding, which is going to hinder the process. But this still does not change the fact that none of us should be trusting Liberty as far as we can fucking throw them. Unfortunately, they were used in half of the states in 2024. Here is every state in the U.S. that used them in 2024, back when.
There you go. This is one of your states. This is your call to action. Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Washington, Wisconsin. Call your representatives. Chef Thang said, Secretary Doug Collins of the VA is trying to cut veteran benefits based on how the ameliorating effects will reduce how much we receive each month. Jesus. Thanks, Doug. Oh, happy day. Thank you for the donation there. Jamuzwi. This topic is always an issue with TikTok. TikTok's just always an issue. Fuck TikTok. Belinda, thank you very much for that donation. Did I miss here? I can't remember. I think I got that. I think I got that. There we go.
They were still called Dominion. If you live in one of these states, you need to.
By the way, we don't need to be so embarrassed if this is your state, Patrick. I appreciate that. But it is interesting that Dominion was the boogeyman and now it's owned by MAGA and suddenly they're just not the boogeyman anymore. Like all their stuff was vulnerable, but now that MAGA has it, we can just trust them.
Call your senators and your representatives, and you need to call your fucking governor and tell them to not use these machines. We need to raise a massive stink about this, because they are already trying to compromise things from within. And if a MAGA Trump humper now owning the company for contests that are conducted in half of the states is not already a bullshit conflict of interest, I don't know what is. Everyone needs to call their officials and demand that they do not use these machines.
There you go. Check out Not the Real Johnny Bananas. Great video there. But here's the executive order that he was mentioning. It's executive order, if you want to pull this up on your own, 14248. And I think, did I have anything else highlighted? Yeah, just this part. Purpose and policy. Despite pioneering self-government, the United States now fails to enforce basic and necessary election protections employed by modern developed nations, as well as those still developing. India and Brazil, for example, are tying voter identification to a biometric database, while the United States largely relies on self-attestation for citizenship. Why is the Trump administration not looking for a biometric database? This is kind of weird. Like he points out that other countries are doing something, but then he doesn't advocate it. Germany and Canada require use of paper ballots counted in public by local officials, which substantially reduces the number of disputes as compared to the American patchwork of voting methods that can lead to basic chain of custody problems. All right. What percentage of states do you think use paper ballots? Anybody know? You know the percentage? It's high. I'll give you a hint. It's high. It's a very high percentage. Percentage that use paper ballots. 98%, good guess. Well, not really a good guess because there's only 50 states, but it's 100%. It's 100%. Every state uses paper ballots. In fact, there are only a handful of states that don't use exclusively paper ballots, and they use something that are called DREs, direct recording electronic machines. So those are you go in and you tap on the screen and it does your vote, and then there's no paper, there's no ballot that's generated. It just goes into the computer. What percentage of those states would you assume are run by Democrats out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Only 8. Only 8 aren't exclusively paper ballots. Remember, this is how the Democrats cheat. Remember, this is what Trump is worried about. The states that use DREs: Texas, Tennessee, Louisiana, Mississippi, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, New Jersey. New Jersey's like purple. It's all red and one purple. Maggie, what do you think about that? If all these liberal states are cheating, and the problem is that Trump keeps saying we got to go to paper ballots, the only states that don't have 100% paper ballots are red states. Can you explain to me then why we need paper ballots? Why Trump's talking about paper ballots all the time? This is why his election claims never pan out, because he doesn't have any evidence. He's just lying. And I think he's probably too stupid to understand any of this, so he just keeps saying the same dumb shit, and nobody wants to correct him because everybody's afraid of him. But this isn't a problem on the left. This is a uniquely Republican problem, if there was a problem. My county, which is Dallas County, Texas, is paper ballots. Yeah, most are. I honestly was surprised. I thought there were more DREs than that, but it's not. Melanie said, speaking truth to power. Thank you very much, Melanie. Appreciate you. Here. And Daniel said pineapple on pizza. Sherry said for the gift goal. Thank you very much. Natalie said thanks for all you do. I got that one. Oh, happy day. I don't know if I got that one. Thank you very much. Okay. I have one more video and then we're done.
Are very
go here. I'm going to skip a lot of this video. So this is Alex Halderman. He gave a speech called Securing Digital Democracies. And this was 6 years ago. But I wanted to go over the voting machine vulnerabilities so that you understand at least what I think Trump is trying to say. And then when you realize that it's all in red states, you realize that his claim that the election was stolen in this way doesn't make any fucking sense. But here we go.
Graduate student many years ago now, about 13 years ago, I was part of the team that did the first hands-on study of any electronic voting machine used in the U.S., and it was using exactly this machine. And what we found, well, we got one of these machines from a whistleblower.
Now I've shown part of this before, but it'll be a good little repeat. Deborah said this is Draco's Rose. Tried to send this the other day, but it wouldn't go through. Dollar Train Choo Choo, mostly for the ham sandwich, but also these maggots have pedo protectoritis. Credit for that phrase to BMO the Prince. Well done.
Brought it into a laboratory, reverse engineered it, and well. Here's the result of what we found. We would run a mock election with George Washington and Benedict Arnold, just like this. And
who's our nominee in 2028? We don't know yet. Thanks for asking.
Wanted to know, well, if an attacker could get malicious software into the machine somehow, could they change the results? And what we found after reverse engineering the machine was, well, yeah, there are actually a lot of problems with it. All the records of the vote are contained in computer memory, and an attacker can manipulate the software that's supposed to be running in the machine in a pretty straightforward way. Before every election, officials program the machine with the names of the candidates on the ballot by installing some programming with a removable memory card. If the attacker can infect the card, well, there are a number of different ways that they can change the software running in the machine. There are unauthenticated software update mechanisms, there are buffer overflows in the code that reads the data files from this. There's even an interpreted
These are the voting, these are one of the specific voting systems or softwares. And they're showing how you actually can hack our systems. Now, we have done analysis post the 2016 and 2020 election, and they found no evidence of this. The weird thing about 2024 is we haven't done any of this. We haven't done the same like audits that we did in 2020, which is weird. Like we did do a ton of audits in 2020 because Republicans demanded them and they kept suing and suing and suing. But knowing that they believed that there were flaws and knowing that we did these audits and they found that there are potential areas where there are flaws like we have here, it is very strange that in 2024 we haven't done any of these audits. Damien said, started late, daughter was in an accident. She's fine. Oh, shit. Glad she's fine. Thanks, Damien. Mackie Gobble said, in 2024 where I voted in Indiana was DRE voting. Don, thank you very much.
Programming language, and the rules for how the votes will be counted are contained in an unauthenticated program contained on the memory card. So through any of those means, an attacker can change the software running on the voting machine and cause the machine to produce what.
So I think Kamala won in 2024. Look, if you go to Election Truth Alliance, and I've tried to pick this apart, I have not heard a good explanation. I've never seen a good explanation for to explain the massive voting swings that happened in areas where and like the pattern and how they all happened the exact same way. We've covered this before, but if you go to electiontruthalliance.com, you can check that out. Or it might be .org. You can check it out yourself. But I've never seen a good explanation for how Trump swung all these voters late.
Whatever election results they want. So that was in about 2007. We published the first paper about this. In subsequent security studies of the same machine and other ones, researchers have found dozens of critical vulnerabilities in
Ashel, what did you do? Ashel, you being disruptive? I'll see you tomorrow.
For overflows and so forth. There have been hundreds and hundreds of pages of technical reports about US voting machines like this. But even after that, these same identical machines that I showed you, this same model is still used in parts of 18 states. And in most of those states, they haven't even updated the software since before the studies I talked about. That's how bad it is. And it's not even just a single.
So this was a lot of the this presentation is a lot of the reason that a ton of people in MAGA thought that the election in 2020 was stolen, and they took this, and this is what they audited for. So again, this is 6 years old, but this is what MAGA tried to use to prove the 2020 election was stolen. They took this idea and they said, okay, we'll be able to identify if it was stolen, and it was audited over and over and over again. And despite the fact that there's vulnerabilities, there was no evidence that any of this stuff had been hacked. But then again, we didn't do it in 2024. So knowing that these vulnerabilities exist, and there's vulnerabilities in other, like it's not just these machines. There's other machines that have vulnerabilities as well. But it is insane that we have not done an audit. And it's honestly, I think both sides should probably be able to agree with this. Like until we can trust our elections again, until the both parties agree with that, like we should be doing full forensic audits every time. Maybe it'll be expensive, but we should be doing it.
Model of machine, that's the only problem. Across the country, there are about 52 different models of machines. They fall into essentially two styles, ones that scan a piece of paper or ones where the voter just interacts with the touch screen. And many of them have been analyzed now by researchers looking for security vulnerabilities. In every single case, where a U.S. voting machine has been analyzed by competent security research?
Yeah, we can probably agree on that. This might be the one place where MAGA and the left can agree. MAGA, will you just put up a thumbs up if you think we should just do a forensic audit on every election from now on? Thumbs up if you think we should do that. It would be expensive. It would be arduous, but it is with the amount of distrust that exists out there, like we may have to spend some money to get people comfortable with elections again.
They have found vulnerabilities that would let someone inject malicious software and change election data. Every single case. Okay, well that sounds pretty bad, but that's just about individual voting.
He was waiting for like a response there.
Machines.
I'm going to speed him up a little.
There are 100,000 or so voting machines across the entire country. How could you go from hacking individual machines to potentially compromising the result of a national race? Well, the answer is that there are 3 challenges that would possibly stop an attacker from compromising a national result. The first one of these is that, the voting technology we use in the US anyway is really quite decentralized. States run their own individual systems. The machine.
I agree with what Bradford Doon said. There are audits done after every election. Most states are only allowed 0.5% variance is true. But what they're claiming here is that it is possible that that you can go through and you can manipulate these votes, that you can actually potentially change votes. And for example, in places where there is strong evidence that happened in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Virginia, in Clark County, Nevada, and in Arizona, they have not done a full forensic audit. They have not gone through. And what is going to be difficult to do is you've got to go through and you've got to match your total ballots to the printouts, and they have not done that. So there is a audit, but I don't think it's thorough enough. You can't manipulate and vote. Yes, you can. That's what they're saying right here, is that you can manipulate, unless you're saying something else by him.
Are different in different places. And some states implement pretty good security. Other states implement basically nothing.
Yeah, Shaft. ETA has 3 cases in 3 counties in Penn State, or in Pennsylvania. Yeah. Got that one. Yeah, go check out Election Truth Alliance. What do you mean that's not how it's done? He's explaining how it's done. I'm not sure what you're disagreeing with here.
So that sounds like that might help. At least there's not a central point of attack where you can get in and change every vote nationwide. But the fact is that in close national contests in the US, the result really only hinges on the result.
No, he just did this. I don't know what you're looking at, Bradford. He just showed you 18 states that were 6 years ago that were still using those systems, and the software had not been updated. I don't trust the certification process. I'm sorry, I don't trust that.
A small number of states. You've heard about the swing states in any given election, the ones that are really competitive. In such a situation, an attacker can, before the election, identify which states are likely to be close. Try probing all of them in the way that the Russians did the voter registration systems in 2016, and just find the weakest swing states and attack there. So in this way, the American system converts diversity of implementation into basically this patchwork of strength and weakness. It gives attackers a menu of possible places to strike. It makes us weaker in close elections. Okay, so what's the second challenge? The second challenge is that voting machines are not connected to the internet. This is something that you hear all the time in the US from election officials.
Also not true.
Unfortunately, it's not actually true. In many new voting machines come with 4G wireless modems so that they can be connected to the internet from the polling place in order to upload the results faster. Now, to me, that sounds crazy. Why would you want to put your voting machines on the internet right in the middle of the election, potentially at the most vulnerable time? But let's just suppose that they weren't connected to the internet, and older models still are not directly connected to the internet, and I think that's a good idea. But even when machines themselves are not directly connected to the internet.
Tony Tigris, you gotta go somewhere else. This isn't for you. All the more reason to need voter ID. Voter ID would literally fix none of this. Your brain's broken, man. Like, how do you have the wrong take every time? It's crazy.
they're still not as far from internet-based attackers as they might seem. So I mentioned that before every election officials have to program the voting machines with who's on the ballot and what are the rules for counting. Well, they make that election programming on a PC workstation somewhere, either at the jurisdiction or at an outside vendor that does it for them. If an attacker can break into that workstation, which is called an election management system, they can spread malicious code to all of the memory cards used to program all of the voting machines in the jurisdiction. And those election management system workstations sometimes are connected to the internet, or the data that's programmed into them passes through an internet-connected system. So we're just 1 or 2 hops away from an online attacker. Now, how well secured are these systems? Well, here's a vendor that did the election programming for a large fraction of my state in 2016. And we can just take a look at their website to see how secure this is likely to be. You can see, first of all, they don't have any HTTPS. Here are lots of nice high-resolution photographs of their warehouse in case you want to break in. And perhaps most interestingly, here's their employee directory with everyone's name, job title, email address, and photograph. So if I wanted to break into this company, let's say I was the attacker, I'd probably start by forging an email from, let's say, Larry, the president here, to Sue, his administrative assistant, asking her to urgently open an attachment.
Election Truth Alliance is the website I was referring to.
Now, of course, when she does, that attachment has my malware in it. I have a foothold into their network, and I can try to spread from there to the election management system and to the voting machines in most of the state. All right, so targeted malware can potentially get to the voting machines. There's just one more challenge. So as an attacker, I have to deal with the fact that across most of the US today, and most of many other countries, there's now a paper record of every individual vote.
That's a much higher number now, by the way. This is 6 years ago. This number, I think, is in the high 80% now.
So this is actually something that's been increasing rapidly in the US, the use of paper as a record of the vote. And that may seem retrograde, but in fact,
Thanks, Sarah. Happy hump day to you.
Paper is a really high-tech kind of defense. So think about other kinds of critical systems where life, safety, major economic loss depends on the correct function of computer systems. If we can have a physical fail-safe, we absolutely want it. That's why if you fly on a modern commercial jet, well, it has a sophisticated satellite-backed navigation system, but also by international law, that plane also has to have a magnetic compass in the cockpit, just in case the computer systems fail. The same way in your car, you really, really want there to be some kind of physical linkage between the brake pedal and the brake, just in case. Well, in elections, that kind of physical fail-safe is a paper record of the vote that the voters saw that is going to be kept by officials later so they can check the result. That doesn't mean that in the US system, that doesn't mean we get rid of computers entirely. We still have computers scan every one of those pieces of paper so that we can get a rapid count, and so that old-fashioned cheating with the paper is less of a problem. Now, at the end of the day, we have a set of computers.
It's true, Tyler. They did hack multiple voting machines at DEF CON before this, just using like a thumb drive.
Files recording every ballot, and we have a set of pieces of paper recording every ballot. These are redundant records, and as long as we check to make sure they agree, well, it's going to be really hard to change election results and get away with it. You'd need to tamper with both kinds of records with a huge conspiracy. Now, how do you check to make sure that they show the same result? You don't have to look at every piece of paper. All you have to do is use statistical sampling. And you can do that efficiently with techniques that scientists have developed over the last 10 years that are called risk-limiting audit techniques. So with a risk-limiting audit, in a typical election, you might only have to review a few thousand ballots across an entire state in order to establish with 95% statistical confidence that the paper and electronic records show the same outcome. There's just one problem. Most states today don't look at any of the paper. They just throw it away unless there's some kind of federal lawsuit after the election result is done. So although they may have the ability, they will not in the normal course of business unless there's very strong evidence of fraud. Go back and check to make sure that any of the computer results are correct.
Now, as far as I know, the only people that have done risk limiting audits, and again, if you go to Election Truth Alliance, you can explain like how this could be subverted. But Georgia, Nevada, Virginia, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and they've all done a small audit and tried to then concluded with some certainty that it was safe.
So what this means is that tampering with the national election result in my country is easier than even I thought in 2016. I keep learning things that convince me that the situation is scarier than even experts had thought. You identify the states that are most weakly protected and going to be close, target the computers that are going to program voting machines there, spread malware to machines to change a fraction of the votes, and then rely on the fact that most states, even if they have a paper record, are not going to rigorously use it to check that the computers are right.
And this is where, like, let me pull this up real quick on Election Truth Alliance. It is .org, by the way. Let me pull up their data. Let's go to Michigan, for example. Scroll down. Is it right here? All right. And this is kind of the claim here. Their hypothesis is that if you see early votes here, in early voting data, Detroit, this, for example, showed a stable high percentage vote share for candidate Harris, regardless of an increase in voter turnout. So here on the bottom, you have voter turnout by percentage. Going up and up here, you have the candidate share of the vote. And these are early votes in the city of Detroit. And you'll see that she maintained a statistically like high margin throughout. In fact, a little bit early, like you had, it was close here, but then it was pretty much the same across the board. As turnout increased, you saw the same margins. But then if you go look at Wayne County and you take out the city of Detroit, you'll see this. You'll see that the higher the turnout got, the bigger Trump got a lead. And this was confusing. And you see this over and over again. Here you have Detroit here with absentee votes. And you can see that all of these patterns change. And that Trump consistently, as turnout gets higher, Trump gets more and more votes, leaving scatter plots. Where's this other one? Down here. Looking like this. Now, a regular election is going to look kind of like this. This is the concentration of vote. This is by turnout here, and this is vote share. And you would see a concentrated vote like this. But what you see here is if voter turnout goes as voter turnout increases, Trump's share goes up and to the right. And it tends to keep happening right around 60% here. And what was interesting as they started digging into this is every time it got to about 60%, all of a sudden in all their analysis, Trump's vote went up. And it was county by county, state by state. Like it was in Pennsylvania, it was in Virginia, it was in Michigan. It happened across the board in the exact same way, which you would never see. You could see that potentially in a county. It would be an anomaly. It would be strange, but you potentially could see that. The pattern is where they have become convinced that some fuckery happened. And then here's what they're explaining may have happened. It's called the Elon shift. They call it a Russian tale, but Elon shift is good.
Okay, so how do we fix this in the last few minutes? It's actually not that hard. So the consensus of not only election security experts, but now, as of a report from last year, the official consensus of the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, is that some of the most important steps to take to secure elections are...
What about the water main breaking in Georgia? Distraction. See, if you notice that like what we're talking about here is actual data. When we're talking about what we think might have happened in 2024, it's data. When Republicans are talking about what happened, it's a water main. It's pulling boxes out from under a table. It's always like just some crazy story that they say, like, look at this. This looks unusual. And you're like, that does look unusual. But if you're honest with yourself, you don't know what would look usual or unusual. You have no idea. You've never done that. So the reason Republicans struggled is they kept going to court over and over and over again. They're like, look at this video of these people pulling out these boxes from under the table. And then they're like, all right, how did they get under the table? Do we know? And they're like, well, I don't know. And then George is like, well, we do have video, so we can show you. And you can see them like bringing in the boxes, and they're done counting. So they put the boxes under the table at night so that they can resume counting the next morning. And when they showed up the next morning, they pulled them from underneath the table and they resumed counting. And then the courts are like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes fucking sense. That actually all makes sense. Your story needs to have like a conclusion. It's just Republicans are just like, what's this? And you're like, I don't know. And they're like, see? And you're like, yeah, I see. I can't explain it. It's got to be election fraud. But I'm looking at data here. If you've been here for a while, you know, like this hasn't been something I have really wanted to cover. And I was very slow to believe any of this stuff. But the data is overwhelming.
Make sure we have a paper record of every vote, and we rigorously audit that record. This is a practical, robust, and absolutely necessary defense against the kinds of sophisticated adversaries we face. Now, I think this is an opportunity because so many different kinds of critical cybersecurity systems are very, very hard to defend. Think about defending the power grid, the healthcare sector, the financial system. These are areas where billions of dollars of investment and decades of research are going to get us closer to feeling secure. But with elections, since we have the ability to have a physical fail-safe, like a piece of paper, and since auditing that paper trail is not very hard, I think this is a major cybersecurity challenge that we can win.
W. Danielle for beating this across your ass like a paddle for months. Yeah, W. Danielle.
But the problem is political. The problem in the US is that we don't have national leadership making sure that all of jurisdictions implement fail-safes like these. So we have made a lot of progress towards a paper record. And by 2020, there'll probably be only 10 or a dozen states that still have any votes recorded entirely electronically.
And now it's 8. And nobody has, not a single state has it entirely electronically.
But if we ask, well, how many states are going to use that record? How many states are going to audit those results? It's probably going to be fewer than half will require any kind of review of the paper record. This is where
and nobody requires a full audit.
Really need to make progress. And where just letting states do their own things isn't working well. So there are some signs of national progress in terms of at least funding improved election security. So last year, Congress provided about $380 million in new funding for election security. That was the first time in more than a decade that states had gotten new federal money to do so. But that money came with no security requirements, believe it or not. States could use it for anything they wanted, including just buying more I voted stickers. This year, the US House passed a measure that would provide $600 million in new funding and require states at least to get rid of their last decade-old unpatched paperless voting machines. But the US Senate, unfortunately, cut down the money.
No, Tyler, Smartmatic has not run out of Venezuela. Neither was Dominion. You can't just Google it. Google it right now. Just say Smartmatic based in Venezuela or run out of Venezuela and ask about Dominion too. It's just not true. This is, the main problem we have is that you guys won't let go of the dumbest fucking conspiracy theories.
And took out all of the security requirements. And it's not even clear that that weakened measure is going to pass. We may have no further action this year. That will be determined probably this week.
Alex Jones wasn't right.
So it's urgent that the US and other countries get to work to solve the election security challenge. In my country, we're going to have another presidential election in just about a year, and that's going to be the next big target for sophisticated attackers. We've got to make sure that our election infrastructure is protected in time by making attacks more difficult, through having a paper trail and auditing, and through verifying the results physically through statistical sampling. Doing these things and applying security best practices to the administration of elections will leave us in a...
All right, we can leave it there. You guys can watch that. But just, again, wanted to mention that it's hard to figure out what the Trump administration is doing. There doesn't seem to be a lot of like rhyme or reason. It's weird that he's obsessed about paper ballots. I'm going to cover it more in depth tomorrow. But what's happening in Georgia when they seize those ballots, this doesn't even make any sense. When you look at the evidence that they provided, literally all of it has been debunked. It is recycled, debunked theories from 2020 that everybody who fact checks, every audit has confirmed that it's not true. And in fact, it includes the organization who gave Dinesh D'Souza the information for his 2000 Mules documentary, which he had to come out and denounce. because they were forced to admit that the data that they provided did not show what they were claiming it showed. In fact, it showed almost nothing. It was unable to connect people at the ballot boxes with their geolocation. It was all made up, and they've admitted that, but Trump still put it in. The Trump administration still put that in their grand jury request, and here we are. They will get nothing from this. They lose every single time. So it is hard to figure them out, but I do think it's important to remember that they're fucking stupid. Like, Donald Trump is fucking stupid, and this is the one lie he won't let go of. So he's going to force people to keep doing what he wants them to do, and there's like, that's why nobody would do. That's why it took so long. He couldn't find a lawyer willing to even take this case. He kept having to, like, people kept quitting and quitting and quitting, and he finally got a dumb loyalist to do it, and that's where we are now. But we'll try and keep an eye on it. We'll try and see if we can make any sense of what the fuck their plan is. So far, I can't figure it out. There's probably somebody smarter than me that has figured it out, and if you do know, DM me. I would love to figure this out, because I can't figure it out myself. Jen, any last words before we go?
No, I don't think so.
Welcome back. We missed you. All right.
Sorry, smashed the phone against the coffee cup.
We missed you. Okay, great.
Sorry, I'm multitasking. And I always try to, like, mute the computer that I have on that plays noise, so before it catches up the audio.
Well,
let me see if our TikTok appeal went through. It was shocking misinformation. Again, let's see if it went
that
through.
wasn't even misinformation. He was providing his evidence. That's crazy.
I mean, that's appeal approved.
Hot damn.
I mean, we got longer than the other days, so I guess we'll
true.
count that as a W. So.
All right. Well, great to have you back. We'll see you tomorrow morning. We'll see the rest of you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8:30 a.m. to noon Pacific Standard Time, right here, wherever you're watching, and perhaps on TikTok tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Go outside, touch grass if you have grass available to you. If you can't touch grass, smoke grass. If you don't smoke grass or touch grass, I don't know what the fuck you're going to do, but I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care of your mental health. Drink lots of water. Stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.